Going live. There we go. Hello, everybody.
Hello. How is everyone? I hope everyone is good or evil. Just not gray, not neutral. Ross, what makes a man turn neutral? Lust for power, gold, or is he born with a heart full of neutrality?
I don't really, if you have strong feelings on it one way or the other. Futurama. Anyway, welcome to Lorebeards for Warhammer 40,000. I am one of our hosts. My name is Ross Watson. I am a game designer and author. I've worked on a bunch of Warhammer 40k role-playing games and several video games. Worked on the US White Dwarf team for about a year and a half. And that's who I am, and that's what I know about Warhammer 40k. And here's my lovely co-hosts.
Hey everyone, my name is Queen Alexis. I am a game designer, which is kind of neat. I'm almost done. No, I'm almost done. I am a tournament player. I have a massive tournament tomorrow that I'm really excited about. Going to be bringing I almost said Dyranids. I'm going to be bringing demons. And I am all around a Warhammer enthusiast. I'm a commissioned painter. I've painted things like this that's just chilling over here.
Wow.
She's really fun. And currently I'm painting another Keeper of Secrets. By the way, this is my 8th Keeper of Secrets. I really like that model.
I can tell.
I have a lot of the older ones, like the really small ones from like 2nd, 3rd edition. So I have like 2 or 3 that are about that size. I still count them as Keepers of Secrets because that's what they were at the time. So if I ever break out and play 3rd edition, I bring those out.
One of the things that's super fun is to go look at older Games Workshop models and see how things have changed over time. A good example is if you go to Lexicanum and look up Terminator armor. Lexicanum has images of some of the very first models of Terminator armor all the way up to the current day, and you can see how they get more detailed, larger, and more interesting over time, which is really fascinating. Of course, Dreadnoughts, Space Marine Dreadnoughts have done this as well. Just about every model they've ever made, from at least from the main original factions, pre-Tau, for example. Even some of the early Tau models, you can see some really interesting evolution of their sculpting. And today, go ahead.
No, I absolutely love it because I'm using a 2nd edition Great Unclean one who's only this big as a demon prince. Keep in mind, this model is metal. He's this big and just solid metal. I'm using him as a demon prince for tomorrow's game because I'm bringing just a demon prince without wings that has Mark of Nurgle. What's better than an older model? That's why I actually really love the demons, is because you can bring mixed and matched stuff.
I like how you kind of slip of the tongue and said Dyranids. And I was like, okay, are those demons that are also Tyranids or Tyranids that are also demons? Or are they deer, that are turned into, like a Gene Stealer cult full of Bambi? Would be kind of wild. All of those things are interesting.
Kovu, stop it. Oh, he's trying to get into the other room.
Kovu is an orange cat. He is kind of our mascot. He belongs to Alexis. He's a great, just cute little cat.
Look at him. He's going to get in there. We have the door barricaded so he can't get in, and he's figuring out how to do it. He's trying.
I should mention that our Discord currently has a you can join the Lorebeards Discord if you like. It's a great way to vote on the content of future episodes. We have a poll up right now for our next tier list that you guys can go check out if you want to vote and see what we're going to rank and rate next. And anybody who it feels like you'd like to be a part of our community, the Lorebeards Discord is a really great place to go, not only to engage with other fans of the show, but not even our channel, but multiple shows under the Lorebeards banner, and also to engage with us, because we will actually talk about things in the chat, and we have a very good, very active community. If Hawk would do me a favor, do a link to the Discord, that'd be great. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out. So today's topic is going to be chosen by the fans is Aeldari Aspect Warriors.
Go, go, Power Rangers.
There are there's some aesthetic similarities about these guys. These are fascinating things. I love aspect warriors. I always have, honestly. And we're gonna get into it today. We're gonna do a deep dive. There's some fascinating older lore about these masked warriors that are part of Aeldari culture.
I just love that they're all super colorful, and they are 1000% the Weeb army, and I don't care what anybody says. They are bright and colorful ninjas that shoot shurikens, follow the path of the Bushido.
Yeah, I should start out by defining or summarizing, I guess, who the Aeldari are. Formerly called the Eldar, and I'm going to slip and probably call them Eldar a lot. So Aeldari and Eldar, same thing. But they are an ancient, highly advanced, and tragically declining race of psychically gifted space elves, for lack of a better word. Their own excesses shattered their previous empire and gave birth to the chaos god Slaanesh. Once they ruled a vast galactic civilization built on incredible psychic and technological mastery. They lived lives of extreme indulgence and perfection, but their civilization collapsed when, in a cataclysm called the Fall, when their collective decadence tore open a hole in reality, creating the Eye of Terror and spawning Slaanesh, one of the 4 chaos gods who eternally hungers for Aeldari souls. The modern Aeldari, that happened about 10,000 years ago, FYI. The modern Aeldari are relatively few, scattered, and obsessed with avoiding spiritual extinction and the soul thirst of Slaanesh. The main factions are the Craftworld Aeldari, also known as the Asuryani. They're survivors that fled the Empire and the rot at the heart of the Empire aboard gigantic starships called Craftworlds, and they live by rigid paths like warrior, artist, seer. And they use soul stones and infinity circuits to keep their spirits safe from Slaanesh. Spirit stones capture their souls upon death, and the infinity circuit is for lack of a better word, it's like a spiritual collective that is maintained and sustained by the Craftworld's own structure made out of a substance called Wraithbone, where they can sort of psychically mingle and speak to one another, and then it gets weird from there. But that's not
Call of Duty lobby.
We're not here to talk about spirit stones and infinity circuits. Although if that's something you guys want to know more about, I'd be happy to talk about it. The other factions, which are not going to be super relevant for today, but there's the Drukhari, also called the Dark Eldar. They are sadistic raiders from a city called Cormorag that is deep within the Webway, which is a labyrinthine dimension that is sort of partitioned off from the Warp, which is an alternate dimension through which the Imperium uses ships to travel through space travel using the Warp. The Eldari bypass that by using a
series of tubes.
It's basically a series of tubes. So the Drukhari, they sidestep Slaanesh's hunger by inflicting torment on others. They feed on suffering, and instead of letting their own souls be taken. And then
everyone needs a hobby.
The last 2 groups are the Harlequins, which is masked servants of the Laughing God. It's one of the few remaining Eldar gods after the fall. And the Harlequin, they often travel through the Webway. They travel between all the different factions. They preserve Eldar myths, and they fight chaos with deadly acrobatic forms of warfare. Lastly, there's the Ynnari, which is a newer sect that follows Iniad, the newborn, relatively speaking, god of the dead. And they believe that unified Aeldari death energy can one day overthrow Slaanesh.
They're basically using death to prod their god back to life.
Aeldari armies rely on speed, precision, and psychic or technological power. They use fragile but hyper-specialized units that excel in specific battlefield roles. Their weapons and vehicles are elegant, high-tech, and psychically attuned often. They favor...
I can't wait to talk about how terribly, from a real-world perspective, how bad the Wave Serpent is designed. But we'll get into that.
Well, They favor. So bottom line, Eldar favor lethal finesse over brute force, and that's the bottom line of the Eldari. Do you want to take a crack at who are the Asuryani?
That's the craft worlders, right?
Correct.
So the craft worlders, they follow a bunch of different paths. Each path is think of it like a hyperfixation, and they go down. One Asuryani can go down many different paths. If they get too focused on one path, they go down that far too much. They excel in it. They become something known as it's an Exarch, right? Or is it an Altarch?
Exarch. Exarchs and Autarchs. We will talk about the difference between Exarchs and Autarchs today.
I am going to get those mixed up. I do apologize, people.
It's okay. Actually, older lore is contradictory, so it's perfectly fine if you get it wrong. So no big deal.
Exarchs are those that went down these paths and went too far into it and are now leading others by their example. But if you were to choose the path of the Dire Avenger, you're basically frontline infantry. It's the army. They're tactically flexible, but they're not really masters of any one form of battle, which is very weird when you go down this exact path to its perfected version, which is just, I'm a master at not being a master at warfare. All right, cool. But there are other different paths. If your soul yearns for speed and daring close combat fighting, you could become something known as a Howling Banshee, dedicate yourself to the god of Khaine, the bloody-handed, and just want to murder and kill everything in your path. Maybe you are not too into the whole, I want to murder you in close combat, but you want to murder them with a thermonuclear flame weapon that constantly changes between the lores. Then you might want to go down the path of the fire dragon. You might want to just melt somebody's entire tank and them inside it. You never know. Hobbies are hobbies. But maybe you're a bit too edgy for that. You're sitting there listening to My Chemical Romance and rocking out with 20-year-old music with me, because that's all of my music. And you want to become a Dark Reaper. You want to destroy things using excessive heavy firepower while wearing a cool skull helmet and swearing vengeance against Abaddon, and then GW never taking that story anywhere.
So, one of the most important things to keep in mind about the Craft World Eldar is that they keep their emotions and desires tightly controlled by following what's called a path. The path of the warrior is what we're going to be talking about today. This is where you become an aspect warrior. And when you follow a path as a Craft World Eldar or Craft World Eldari, this kind of focuses your life on a discipline, one discipline at a time. You're not multiple paths at once. This is your path. Now you can step off that path. You can say, okay, I've been an aspect warrior for 50 years. I'm going to go do the path of the mourner or path of the artisan. And that's fine. You don't lose anything. But there are some people who get trapped on that path who just don't see the Eldari who follow the path of the warrior and never leave it. They can in time become what are called Exarchs, which are the leaders of an individual temple of the aspect of which they are a part. And we will discuss that. What's fascinating about the aspect warriors, again, there's just a lot of lore about them, and they've been around for a long time. The aspect warrior is one of the very first Eldari models, and frankly, the Craft World Eldar are kind of like the main Eldar faction. So they've been front and center in Warhammer 40K for a very, very long time, since some of the earliest editions. So, who are aspect warriors? Oh wait, Mr. Mike of the Grail says this is not a phase, Mom. Every Dark Reaper ever. Oh, we have a couple of super chats we should read too.
Yes, we do. Got two of them. First one.
Jack Ruby 6696. 40K Lorebeards will blow up. 40K is uber popular. Be patient. Hey, thanks, buddy. I appreciate your faith in us.
We're getting there.
You would be surprised how much work goes into these videos. It's not just like we sit down and just start talking. We do research. Alexis is great at like setting up the studio and getting all the images. I usually do like the show notes and stuff, but it's more work than you think to run this channel.
To read 2 Gav Thorpe books.
It's more work than you think, so we appreciate you appreciating us. Biofoot 7874, our local fishman enthusiast. Do either of you know the Age of Sigmar Lumineth Realm Lords?
I know that they're fish. They're the fish elves.
No, you're thinking of the Idath Deepkin.
Okay, I know even less about them.
The Realm Lords are...
They're the boring ones, right? That stay on land?
I don't know if I'd call them boring. They are the more high elfy version of the elves of Age of Sigmar. They have a light they're like, they follow light magic, if I remember right. And I'm not super familiar with the Realm Lords. And Biofoot's asking, how do the Aspect Warriors compare to the Realm Lords? If not, are they space fish elves?
I have no idea how they compare.
Yeah, same, unfortunately. Our Aspect Warriors space fish elves, not the current known aspects, but there are aspects for which we do not have models, so it's possible. You could argue, even possibly likely, that some of these might be more suited to amphibious warfare. Now I'm trying to think of like Eldar Frogmen, and it's like really kind of a strange idea, but it could be cool.
I can't find the comment, but I saw a comment asking if there's an aspect shrine dedicated to like artillery, and weirdly enough, there isn't.
Well, like, in second edition, Dark Reapers could fire missiles indirectly, so I mean, kind of, sort of, but not really.
I mean, if you go with the Dire Avengers and get them into the one bombardment tank that they have, I guess it counts.
Not really. Yeah, is the answer. Not really. Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Sebastian Mueller is a member. Hey, thank you for being a member of the channel. What's worse than an elf with an ego? A space elf ego. Yeah, they are very arrogant. The Eldar are super arrogant.
Extremely. Like, they take their space supremacy to the next level.
So the Aspect Warriors are kind of the professional military of the craft worlds. There are guardians, which are like the citizen soldiers, but they're more like a militia. They're not on the path of the warrior. Let's put it that way.
They're called out when the craft world gets attacked. They're called out when shrine worlds get attacked. They're called out in desperation instead of just, or if those people want to join at the time that a war call is made. They're not ones that are, they're fodder.
Alrighty, so yeah, Aspect Warriors. They are the elite craft world Eldar infantry. They walk the path of the warrior. They have dedicated themselves to a specific ritualized style of war that embodies one facet of the war god, Kayla Menshikane, or ancient Eldari legends. So they're kind of like the Eldar equivalent of Space Marines in that they have a quasi-religious aspect to their martial prowess. In a way, you can think of Aspect Warriors as priests of Khaine in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Like, I could definitely see it with like the Howling Banshees, especially, or just fanatics, or like even almost equivalent to flagellants of Khaine.
Did you just say flatulence?
No, not farting. Flagellants.
Okay, it sounds the same to me, but all right. Flagellants.
Flagellants. Wait, how do you pronounce it?
Flagellant is how I pronounce it.
What? Okay, Chad, I want you to know. Ross, you're silly.
That's true. I will not deny it.
See, Vorn is on my side.
Yeah, we got a comment here from Parker Meistera. He says they're Eldar paladins. That's not a bad way to think of them.
No, they're not paladins. They're samurai. And I'm actually not joking about this. A lot of the inspiration for Eldari's culture and the way that they walk, the paths that they walk, is actually heavily inspired by like samurai and samurai poetry. And I absolutely love it.
They are they have a lot of common with samurai, which I will agree with that. The thing you need to remember about aspect warriors is that they focus their entire lives on mastering a narrow combat discipline. Okay, these aspects warriors, they fight as specialist units, and they provide cutting edge infantry support, shock assault, or precision firepower, depending on the aspect that they are. Instead of general purpose troops, although there is one aspect warrior that is a general purpose troop,
the Dire Avenger.
The Dire Avengers. Their armor, weapons, rituals, and even their personal identities are shaped by their chosen aspect shrine, and they're seen kind of extensions. The war masks that they wear are almost extensions of their own soul rather than just standard equipment.
Similar to the mask that a samurai wears.
Yeah, when an Aeldari feels the call to war, they will select an aspect shrine. These are warrior cults that live on the craft world and have their own little temples. And each temple embodies a facet of Khaine or a specific mythic archetype. Each shrine is led by an Exarch, and these are the veterans who have become trapped on the path of the warrior. They can no longer return to civilian life. Exarchs accumulate the souls and war masks and armor of previous Exarchs. So the armor of an Exarch has spirit stones in it that contain the spirits of all the previous Exarchs of that shrine. They are like a collective of souls, not just the wearer, but they are guided by a collective.
It's like the if you're an Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, it's kind of like that. They literally see all the past lives and everything and talk to them.
The first member of each aspect shrine who founded that discipline is typically called a Phoenix Lord. Phoenix Lords are these near immortal warriors whose armor and soul stones pass from host to host. They spread their aspect shrines between the craft worlds. So Phoenix Lords are named characters. They're big deals. When they show up, it's serious. And each shrine has a Phoenix Lord, although that may not necessarily be true for all shrines. It's just all the shrines we know of so far, with the exception, I think, with a few exceptions, have Phoenix Lords. And we will talk more about the Phoenix Lords in a little bit, but just the thing you need to know for now is that Phoenix Lords are the ones that found the temple, the shrines, and they spread them out across the craft worlds.
Basically the chapter masters of it.
Right. The most widespread aspects across the craft worlds are the Dire Avengers, which are the flexible line infantry, the Striking Scorpions, which are stealth and ambush melee fighters, the Howling Banshees, which are shock melee and disruption troops, the Fire Dragons, which are close combat anti-tank units, or close range anti-tank units. And then there's like one of my favorites, the Dark Reapers, who specialize in heavy long-range firepower. And then there's the Swooping Hawks, which are fast aerial infantry. They actually have little anti-grav wings that allow them to soar gracefully and fire their las guns. They're harassers.
And drop a ton of grenades on you, and it's super annoying because by the time you get to them, they're flying away going, hee hee hee.
They do. They literally can drop bombs, which is pretty cool. There are other aspect temples like the Warp Spiders, who are super cool, by the way. The Warp Spiders can short-range teleport by transporting themselves through the warp, not using the webway, and this is super dangerous So
Mhm.
that so if you are a warp spider, you are considered a daredevil. You are considered a borderline insane space elf because you are exposing yourself to getting your soul eaten by Slanesh by teleporting through the warp. But
Not
the
only
short
that,
range,
there is a chance that it malfunctions and then you just rip open a small hole in reality.
it's bad. However, they have one of the coolest weapons, which is called a web spinner or death spinner, excuse me, and that is a rifle that fires a cloud of monofilament wire that rips anything apart basically in its path. Short range, but very dangerous.
Do you remember that net from the Predator movies where it shot this web net and then anything that hit by it just got diced to pieces? Yeah, GW definitely didn't just lift that directly and just go, it shoots it as a cloud. Yes.
There's also the Shining Spears, which are jet bike shock cavalry, and the Shadow Specters, which are the most the newest. I think they came out like 20 years ago. They are the
The
newest
coolest.
ones. They are really cool. They're jump infantry with anti-tank prism weapons, and they represent Khaine as a bringer of sudden death. So these aspects, these are each, like I said, very narrow focus of what they do.
I absolutely love the Shadow Specters. I'm going to be real with you. It's basically what happens if you give Dark Reapers a jump pack, and they're just so cool, but they're not really great at killing vehicles, which is weird because they sound like they should be able to. But they're really, really good at killing elite infantry and like infantry in general. They will just pop down, blow away an infantry, and run away behind something, making it a constant game of tag against them while they're just slowly moving to their objectives and then eventually leaving. They're not ones to stay in prolonged combat. They're more or less hit, kill, run, objective, go away.
What? So that's your favorite aspect. Do you have a least favorite aspect, Shrine?
Ah, it's the Crimson Hunters. It shouldn't be an aspect.
The Crimson Hunters, I forgot them. They fly jet. They're the Top Gun pilots
Like
of the
it
Aeldari.
it totally makes sense. They are the navy of the Asiarni. That makes complete sense. I get it. But also that should be the Dire Avengers.
I mean, it's not up to me. I didn't decide it. I can
Yeah.
tell you. I can tell you this. I think my favorites. Shadow Specters are really cool, but the ones I use the most often in my own games is the Striking Scorpions. Love the Striking Scorpions. Plus, they have a great backstory. They have a really cool backstory.
Yeah.
Least favorite for me is the Shining Spears. I think these guys are the lamest goddamn thing.
That's fair. Also, do you remember how expensive it was to make Shining Spears back in the day? Where you had to buy 4 kits to make a Shining Spear unit?
I I don't know if they've. I'm sure there's been an edition where they've been really good.
This edition, they're pretty decent.
Ah, okay. In the editions when I was playing regularly, they were just like, why? Why would you pick these guys?
Yeah. I mean, most people just picked up Warlocks on jet bikes. That was the go-to because that was the strongest. But Shining Spears back in the day, for those of you that don't know or as are not as old as us, because we've been in this hobby way, way too long, you used to have to buy a unit of bikes. Okay, a unit of bikes only came with 3 bikes, and only one of those had the Shining Spears underslung weapon. Okay, then you had to buy a very particular warlock who had a spear. Then you had to cut him in half. So you had to buy that one guy 5 times, no, 3 to 6 times, depending on the size of your squad. And then buy the bike kit like 12 times to get or actually it's 6 times to get that one gun to put underneath because this was before 3D printing, before this was the age of kit bashing. This was like 4th edition and earlier. And oh my god, it was the most irritating thing in the world. And this is when people made you play what you see is what you get. And it was the most irritating thing in the world as an Eldar player because you had one model for the entirety of the Shining Spears and you had to convert it, and it cost like a ton of money. I am so glad that you could just go down to a Games Workshop now and just buy 3 of them and just be like, yep, got them, done. And then they sit up on a shelf like all Eldari jet bikes tend to do unless they're broken.
Got a super chat from Gary Garionson. I should mention that Gary Garionson pointed out in our last Lorebeards and RPG stream that I had erroneously said pistols use clips, and he did not like that very much. So I've seen that comment. I've taken the notes.
It depends on the language.
It does, and language has changed over time. Anyway, I think technically he is correct. Anyway, he says, Gary Garionson says, if a high concept War in Heaven novel series were ever to be created, ooh, like this a lot. Which writer should be tasked with it? Aaron Dembski back. We didn't even hesitate.
No, it's ADB.
I would accept Mike Brooks or Guy Haley as well.
Oh, Mike Brooks would be really good. Guy Haley could be really good because he loves over explaining things.
I really like his books so far. So
no, like this isn't a complaint. This is something that I actually like because he talks about the logistics of Warhammer, which is something that I love. Just keep like certain writers away from it. But yeah, Aroninsky Bowden would be like my number one choice.
Great comment. Thank you, Gary Garrison. And we've got one from Skitari Boy. Welcome, Skitari Boy. Howling Banshees are clearly the tomboy aspect warriors, so who are the femboy aspect warriors?
Oh my god. So you want to know who it actually is? Because there is one for it.
You go ahead.
It's the fire dragons. Because they're so hot.
Well,
also, I wanna complain really quickly. One of my favorite things, and I got into a huge argument on TikTok about this because I said loading a tube of a shotgun, and somebody got mad at me, and they're like, "That's not a tube," and it's literally called tubing a shotgun to load it. You loaded it to a tube.
Skitari Boy, I should point out that the shrines are all co-ed. Okay, you can be a man or a woman and join any of the shrines. The Howling Banshees are primarily women. I think that's the only one that I would say has a higher percentage of a certain gender. Anyway, that's a good question, and thanks for pointing that out. Or good question, and thanks for pointing that out. And then we've got Gary Garrison again. Thank you again, sir. By the way, super chats are the absolute best way to support our channel and support us and what we do. We are very grateful to everybody who does it. And if you feel like we're doing a good job, don't hesitate to throw one out. Gary Garrison says, if there was an Age of Sigmar style sequel setting for 40K, what would the concept be? Primarch gods, sub-realms beyond Cormorag, Necron pocket universes?
Do you want to hear my super like conspiratorial take? 100%. We already had an End Times for 40K and no one's realized it yet. It was the fall of Cadia. This is the aftermath. This is the Age of Sigmar for 40K. We are seeing the rise of Primarchs, and they are demigod levels, which is the exact same thing that happened in Age of Sigmar in a sense, where they got different gods. Marathi being one of them, and the only girl that actually matters in that entire setting, and the only one I actually care about. I have a type. But I think that the End Times has already happened for 40K. The galaxy got torn in half. That was the end of an era of 40K. That was GW tearing the old lore in half and just going, nope, we're changing things. And bringing things back, bringing new ideas, bringing new armies, like the Votan, like the AdMech actually getting updated. We're seeing things like the Dark Mechanicus actually being added to the setting, though they are added for Heresy, but it's after that full event, so I'm counting it.
Oh. So the question that he's asking for me, I would say, if I had to pick from these options, I love the idea of Necron pocket universes. I could see one. This would be a great way to bring in some of the really old lore, like space vampires for 40k, and have like a whole Necron pocket dimension that is like Ravenloft but 40k, which would be pretty cool. So yeah, I think that's where I would go with it. But it's an interesting idea. Good what if possibility for us to discuss at some point.
What it was this one.
The God Club in Age of Sigmar is a sausage party, according to Biofoot 7874.
What is the name of the god of beasts? It's like a giant like horse creature guy. I can't remember its name.
I don't know. Sorry.
Somebody in the chat, please point that out to me, because you guys know fantasy and AOS lore way better than me. I just want to point out something that's really, really funny. Kragnos. Kragnos is a trans man, and I will argue that.
So I'm an old school comic book nerd, and I should tell you that comics get really super weird. If you think Kragnos is unusual, check out the history of Supergirl's horse Comet sometime. It will blow your mind. Anyway, yeah. Moving on. The Aspect Warriors, they exist because the Aeldari, they were scarred by the fall and the birth of Slaanesh. They have to channel their emotions into these rigid paths to avoid damnation. The path of the warrior is a very controlled outlet for violence and vengeance and the darker emotions. Within that path, the aspects split the idea of war into these narrow, almost monastic, like a monk, like a monastery. Again, there's some similarities between aspect warriors and space marines. Or samurai. So they have these monastic disciplines that allow an Aeldari to immerse themselves in battle without losing their entire self to bloodlust. That's what the mask is for. It's really, it's that theory that when you're wearing a mask, you are not yourself. You are submerging yourself beneath what the mask represents.
Somebody in the chat pointed out what I said and got it. I'm really happy for you. Okay, don't bring it up. Just Mr. Mike got it.
Okay, fair enough. I'll have to check it out later. So if you remain on the path of the warrior too long, you risk becoming an Exarch, which is a permanent bond between the Eldar and war. The Aeldari, that is the Exarch, or again, because it's permanent because you are now part of a collective soul. You're not a singular individual anymore. Most Aeldari, they will eventually step away to another path. They will carry their martial memories with them, and this is where we get guardians, are typically people who were aspect warriors at some point in their past. The craft world, any craft world is big enough to host multiple shrines of the same aspect and multiple shrines of different aspects. Shrine sizes vary from very small elite cadres to formations of several squads, depending on the fiction and the codex examples. Unlike mass-produced human or space marine troops, aspect warriors are relatively few, but they're very highly trained, and they are deployed where their specialized strengths will decisively exploit enemy weaknesses. The typical Aeldari way of war is to field multiple aspects where they will work together in harmony, where the striking scorpions will ambush a foe, and then the howling banshees will charge from a different direction, while the dark reapers are blasting all the artillery and heavy tanks. Blasting all the artillery while the fire dragons are dealing with the tanks, and they all do this as part of their very harmonious way of war.
There is a quote. I'm gonna butcher it, but it's, if Eldar are fighting the way that they have perfected, the enemy will only be shooting at glimpses of shadows.
Yeah. Although that does depend a little bit on the aspect, because some aspects are a little more aggressive, yeah.
I mean, they're just using hard stealth.
The oldest and most numerous aspect warriors are the Dire Avengers. They trace directly back to Asserman, who is the first of the Phoenix Lords.
He really knows what he likes.
And Asurman is the one who founded the entire aspect system. The theology of the Dire Avengers, they embody Kayla Khaine as the noble but merciless warrior. They represent disciplined, balanced warfare rather than a single extreme. These are the generalists. Dire Avengers are supposed to be able to kind of do everything, at least a little bit.
They're basically the army. Like they're supposed to be able to confront any threat, be able to tackle most, if not ever-changing warfare, and be able to inform all of the other aspects at the same time.
Dire Avengers, so a Guardian uses a shuriken catapult, which is a weapon that uses a magnetic technology to fling razor-sharp metal discs that spin through the air. The Dire Avengers... Oh, go ahead.
Some would call that weapon a railgun that shoots shurikens.
That's why they're called shuriken catapults.
Yep. They are... It's such a cool weapon that flies under the radar whenever Warhammer weapons get brought up. Everyone's like, the bolter's so cool. Meanwhile, the common Dire Avenger is running around with a railgun.
Well, the Dire Avengers have a better version of a shuriken catapult. They have a version that has a better range, better rate of fire, that kind of thing.
They put them together and duct taped it.
Not quite. It's more advanced than that.
They carry two.
Well, the Exarch can carry two, actually.
I know, it's really funny.
So the bottom line is Dire Avengers are good at shooting and good at close combat. They are good at holding objectives, and mid-range firepower, anti-infantry firepower is kind of their niche. Because Asurman founded more Dire Avenger shrines than any other Phoenix Lord, almost every major craft world has multiple temples, making their blue armor and their crested helmets kind of an archetypical sight in Aeldari or Asuryani war hosts. The Phoenix Lord is called Asurman. He is the hand of the Asur. He taught all of the Phoenix Lords how to do stuff, and he is canonically the progenitor of the Path of the Warrior and all the aspect shrines. So he's a pretty cool dude, and he's tied into the overall fate of the Aeldari.
We do have a comment here that I want to bring up really quickly.
So Mike says, I always thought that obsessing with one thing isn't very healthy for the Eldar.
It is really funny that the path system that they take, it is for self-discipline, but them going down this niche is also feeding Slaanesh, because Slaanesh feeds off of the emotion and the obsession. But it's not as bad as if they were just, doing what they did prior, which was no guidance whatsoever, fully embracing Slaanesh.
Well, it's important to remember that Slaanesh is all about excess.
Mm-hmm.
And the path system actually minimizes excess. By hyper focusing on a specific thing, you typically don't. Aeldari, the Asuryani, they typically don't feel, their emotions don't flare to that excess level. They can get obsessed, they can get hyper focused, but what they don't get is they don't get wild and crazy, that's the risk. That's the true risk. I've said this before, but I think if you want to try to imagine Eldar emotions, if you've ever been to a major concert where everybody's vibing as a massive crowd and you can feel that energy where everybody's kind of feeling the same emotion all at once, that's how an Eldar feels all the time. That it's just a heightened degree of emotion.
Man, I wish I could live with that kind of vibe. That sounds amazing.
I mean, if it's good, yes, but a lot of times it can be really bad.
I mean, yeah, all you have to do is just doom scroll on TikTok and you'll feel as bad as an Eldar.
The Exiled One, 8002, thank you for the super chat. He says, what is the biggest craft world, or who has the most aspect shrines?
Is it Biel-Tan?
Biel-Tan has the most aspect shrines. They are the most warlike of all the Aeldari craft worlds. I don't know if they're the biggest, but they are one of the biggest, for sure.
I know Samhan is all about the speed. It uses a lot of shining spears and their jet bikes.
The Wild Riders.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's BL10. They're basically like the poster boys of Eldar.
The BL10 is the most warlike, and they have the most aspect shrines. They are unquestionably the ones that use the most aspect warriors. The war hosts of BL10 are called the Sword Wind, which is really cool. I like that a lot.
I also love that the way that Eldar describe things are basically like talking in haiku.
They can.
Yeah, I really love that. I really wish GW would actually dive more into that kind of lore.
Next, we have my favorite aspect warriors, the Striking Scorpions. They were founded by Ara, who is one of Asserman's first disciples. Ara founded them, and the Scorpion Temple kind of became shrouded in infamy because Ara is the only Phoenix Lord known to have been corrupted, fallen into darkness.
Do you happen to know Ara's last name?
No.
It's Ara Ara.
I
was waiting for that joke for like 40 minutes.
Oh my god.
So worth it.
Some of the older lore suggests that Ara even summoned demons into the shrine, but that's, big giant grain of salt whether that actually happened. Ara definitely fell to darkness, though. He betrayed the other Phoenix Lords, and then he fled into the Webway, and he's known as the Fallen Phoenix. There is a strong suspicion that Drazhar, the Master of Blades, which is a figure in the Dark Eldar, may be Ara. There's a lot of implication that he may be that character. So the Striking Scorpions, they embody Khaine's ruthless predatory wrath. They are the kill that comes from the shadows. They are the viciousness in the Aeldari soul that delights in the hunt. So they are heavily armored. Their armor is actually as good as Space Marine armor, which is that's very impressive. they have I think them and the Dark Reapers I think have the heaviest armor plating of all the aspect warriors.
I think so.
They are close assault specialists, and they typically are the stealth specialists as well because they advance through cover, they strike through from ambush. They excel at grinding melee rather than the explosive charge of the Howling Banshees.
I was trying to find really quickly if I could get the animation from Warhammer TV of the Striking Scorpions fighting.
Ooh, that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, I'm going to try it really quickly. You continue.
Sure. So Karandras was an exarch of the Striking Scorpions, and he was Ara's greatest pupil. He rebuilt the aspect after Ara fell to darkness, whatever that meant. And so he has tempered the murderous impulses of the temple with patience and methodical stalking. Karandras is kind of the one that focused the shrine a little more towards stealth. So he has seeded new shrines across all the craft worlds. So while the Shadow Specters may be kind of the newest one in lore, I think the Johnny Come Latelys are probably the Striking Scorpions in the culture of the Aeldari. So Karandras is now the new Phoenix Lord to represent the aspect, and
an amazing model.
It's the only known example of an Exarch becoming a Phoenix Lord. We know that this can happen because Karandras did it. It's not known how. I assume Asserman probably intervened and kind of like, hey, buddy, here's what you need to do. So there's one fallen Phoenix Lord, and there is one Phoenix Lord that is an Exarch who became a Phoenix Lord, and that's Ara, and that's Karandras. And that's one of the reasons why I love the Striking Scorpions. They have a really cool backstory.
Oh my god. Warhammer Plus is not working in my country again. They don't realize that we're European.
The Howling Banshees are the possibly one of the most well-known, aside from the Dire Avengers. The Aeldari legend links Banshees to the crone goddess Moriheg. Now, the Eldar gods, except for Khaine, Isha, and Segarak, were essentially killed during the fall of the Eldar. So Moriheg is dead, but she was associated with the Banshees because in the Eldar myth, she sent her daughters, the Banshees, to torment Khaine until he severed her hand in exchange for granting him the Banshee aspect. And this myth is cited as a spiritual origin of the War Mask and their terrifying wail. They're called the Howling Banshees because their masks project a psychosonic battle cry that disrupts the nervous systems of their opponents. And it's described as driving you to your knees as they come running in with power swords to chop you apart. It's
that one I can find.
It's kind of horrific. Their battlefield role is lightning fast assault and infantry specializing in charges that disrupt enemy formations. They use power swords in their Banshee masks to overwhelm opponents before the enemy can even fight back.
Can I show this really quickly?
Sure, let's do it. There she is. That's a Howling Banshee.
And you get to hear the scream as well. If this is too loud, let me know.
I'm not hearing anything, but that may be a factor of the...
Then you probably can't hear it.
Yeah, I don't believe there's audio, but the visuals are very cool. And just imagine a keening wail as they come running out of the smoke. Oh, this is Dawn of War 3, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which had the coolest trailer and was absolutely terrible.
All right. To continue on with the Howling Banshees, they were founded by the Phoenix Lord Jane Czar. She plays a major role in the resurrection of Gilliman, doesn't she?
Jinzar? No. It's no, she doesn't.
Oh, okay. I thought she was involved in that.
No, she's because I think it's just Belisarius Call and the name I can't remember.
Greyfax? Celestine?
Not Celestine. Why am I drawing a blank at Gilliman's wife's name?
Yvraine?
Yvraine, yeah.
Okay. Well,
I know Jinzar doesn't like Yvraine.
Right. I'm sorry. You're right. She was not involved. I don't know why I was thinking she was, but anyway. Jane Czar is their founder. She's one of Asterman's first students, and she's depicted as the Storm of Blades, who exemplifies perfect Banshee movement and the killing scream.
She is such a badass character, and she is, oh my god, is she an irritating character on the battlefield. Fights first or initiative 10. Back in the day, she had a ridiculously high initiative. Nowadays, she has fights first, and it's crazy how good they are. But the second that you survive her attack, she dies. It's great. Which is exactly the way Eldar should be. Yeah,
glass cannons.
Mm-hmm.
The Howling Banshees kind of combine terror with blade dancing in their battle, which is really neat. I like them. I think they're a lot of fun. Then we've got the Fire Dragons is the next one. The Fire Dragons are the they trace their aspect to Fuegan the Burning Lance. He's another one of Asterman's original pupils who later founded the first Fire Dragon Shrine after losing himself on the path of the warrior. The Fire Dragons embody the destructive dragons of Aeldari myth. Dragons is a thing that the Aeldari use in myth a lot. They actually refer to the Tyranid. Well, Ariana Ayenal, the spirit seer of Ayenden, refers to the Tyranids as the Great Dragon, for example. Dragons are a thing that comes up a lot.
I mean, if you go by the original origin of the word dragon, it could mean son of a demon or son of the devil. So that does seem fitting for the Tyranids as a term.
So the dragons of Aeldari myth are pure consuming creatures of war. They burn things. They cleanse with fire. And so the joy of total merciless obliteration of their obstacles is what makes the Fire Dragons a thing. They typically carry either flamers or melta-guns, depending on the edition. Their melta-guns are a little bit more awesome than the standard Imperial melta-gun, and their Exarch carries what's called a fire pike, which is a really long-range melta-gun.
So, fun little facts about these guys. In 3rd edition, they could use their gun as both a flamer and a melta-gun. Then 4th edition kind of took that away. The fire pike was still the flamer meltagun. Then 5th edition took that away entirely. Nowadays they only have the meltagun variant, which is it's okay because the flamer on them was kind of like bad considering that you had a meltagun as the alternative option, and the meltagun just killed Marines, killed tanks, and the flamer basically just tickled Marines. It was just like, hi, hit you with a flamer. And you're just like, okay, sure.
Meltaguns are basically fusion weapons. They are incredibly short range, but incredibly powerful energy beams that carve things, especially vehicles, apart.
Now, Ross, I have a question for you because this comes up in the lore often. Is the meltagun a beam weapon that it shoots a beam out of it, or is it a blast weapon?
Multi-meltas are a blast weapon. Regular meltaguns are a beam weapon. That's what I'm going with.
You know, I am right there with you. I think the more recent change of them being a blast weapon was strictly for an in-game purpose for having a shotgun for a Space Marine. That's why I think it changed to being this blast. But in like the Dawn of War games, it is just a beam that concentrates on things and just melts them.
Fire Dragon Shrines attract personalities willing to embrace destruction and danger. No aspect revels more in destruction than the Fire Dragons, but they are not berserkers. They just really like blowing shit up.
I mean, they work really well for that. They just jump in their wave serpents, they fly up to a tank, and they just go, I don't want to see that tank anymore.
There is a prophecy among the Eldar called the Ranadandra, which is this idea that eventually there will be a massive final battle where all the Phoenix Lords will gather together and then die in combat. The Phoenix Lord Fuegan, who founded this temple, he's said to be the one that will rally all the others, and he will be the last one to die in that final battle.
Wow, he thinks highly of himself.
Then
also, I always pronounce his name Fuegan.
You know what? The difference is in how we pronounce things is part of the fun of this channel.
I mean, the best part is it's like how different it could be like we could explain this in universe too. 2 different craft worlds might have 2 distinct dialects that they call characters different things.
Well, I spent a lot of years in Louisville, Kentucky, and the different ways people pronounce that name, even within the city, can be really fascinating. If you're a tourist, you call it Louisville. If you're a local, you probably call it Louisville. If you've been there a really long time, you probably call it Lovell. Baltimore has the same problem. If you're, people that live in Baltimore a long time, just call it Bomber, for example.
Well, that's dangerous.
I'm just saying it is a factor of being local that your dialect shortens or changes the way you pronounce names. It happens in America all the time.
Yep. I mean, just with me in the cities, like I'm from Queens, New York, I can tell the difference between somebody born in Queens, Brooklyn, Long Island, Yonkers. I can tell all the accents apart, and they're basically within an hour of each other.
Yonkers. I love it.
Yonkers.
We have got a comment from Ricardo Andre. He says, I always found it weird that the Rana Adandra was the final battle of the gods versus chaos and fantasy. And in 40K, it's just the Phoenix Lords. Well, at least as far as we know. There may be more.
Saying just the Phoenix Lords is kind of weird because the Phoenix Lords are on, like, they are almost on Primarch level.
They're very, very strong and very, very influential within Eldari culture. If a Phoenix Lord shows up, everyone in the craft world pays attention.
Like, if 2 craft worlds are having war with each other, which does happen, a Phoenix Lord shows up and goes, stop it. They're going to stop.
Most likely. So that's the Fire Dragons. Now here comes the Dark Reapers, the edgelords of the Aspect Temples. God, they're cool. They have skull-like helmets.
Look at that. He is not very happy. See, notice the difference, everyone. Happy, not happy. Burninating the countryside and having a blast. He's just having a good time. not enjoying themselves.
So the Dark Reapers, they were founded by the Phoenix Lord Maugan Ra, who comes from a craft world called Altansar. Altansar was swallowed by the Eye of Terror, and Maugan Ra managed to escape. He was then able to spread the aspect of the Dark Reaper Temple to all the other craft worlds. They are the image of Khaine as the destroyer, the remorseless bringer of inevitable death. Their skull-like masks and their funeral iconography reflect this. So they are the bringers of death. Their role is heavy fire support. They carry these things called Reaper launchers, they fire mini missiles. That's a terrible way to say it. Mini missiles, miniaturized missiles. There we go.
Micro missiles.
Is that what they call it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Micronized anyway, little missiles. They fire little missiles.
I love that our accents butcher words and we just skip them.
These guns have relentless, very accurate fire. In earlier editions, they were able to do indirect fire with them.
They still do indirect.
Oh, can they now? Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's cool. They focus on priority targets like armored vehicles, monsters, elite infantry. Their culture is, well, it's focused on death. Their suit, their weapon, and the warrior is all one thing that works together. The lore describes their armor and weapon as being like the same thing, which heightens their Reaper's perception of the battlefield and keeps, it allows them to keep track of their ammunition. They have like an overlay in their helmet that like can read out the battlefield in a way that the other aspect warriors don't. Maugan Ra is called the Harvester of Souls, and he is the one who organizes. Typically, he's good at defending craft worlds against Tyranids, which happens more often than you think. And that's what the Dark Reapers. So that's the basics on the Dark Reapers.
So I want to add a few things here. The Dark Reapers do have a HUD, as Hawk pointed out, but the Dark Reapers also do coordinated strikes with Dire Avengers, especially where Dire Avengers will point out certain targets for destruction that they can't kill. And then these guys, from where they can't be seen from the shadows, will destroy that target. They embody the aspect of kill it from the shadows. The other big thing about them is there is a bit of a rivalry. I joked about this earlier, but in the not Armageddon, what was the 4th or 5th edition campaign book where Abaddon was crushing the planet on the front of it? It was
that was the 13th Black Crusade, the alternate timeline.
In that, Mungden Ra lost a fight to Abaddon and swore vengeance against him. And this was supposed to be the biggest thing in that, one of the biggest things in that book. And nothing ever came of it. In fact, it is never mentioned in the history of Forever because that is not canon.
Right, that whole timeline is considered an alternate timeline now.
Yeah, which is kind of sad because Mungden Ra is such a cool character, and he carries a gigantic scythe gun, which is the most anime-esque weapon in 40K.
There's you can draw a through line from Maugan Ra to the Gundam Death Scythe from Gundam Wing, for example, which I think is pretty rad and cool.
And then we do have to eventually talk about how a lot of their armor and everything is based off of Super Sentai or Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, it's clearly there's definitely a Sentai aspect of it. Jess Goodwin is the guy who did the initial sketches and art and led the sculptors into creating what the Aeldari look like. Jess Goodwin's sketchbook is something you can find, I think, on eBay. It's a really fantastic product if you really like the way that the Aeldari look and want to see more.
And Mungden Ra did get I see Hawk asking, did get a new model recently. Almost everything got a new model except, I think, Striking Scorpions. I think they're the only aspect warrior to not get a new kit.
They got a kill team a little bit ago.
Oh, yeah, they have the kill team. Which is the one that didn't get the kit? And it's very silly.
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know.
Somebody in the chat will find it. I fight Eldar so rarely, as you do in 40K as well, because Eldar are extremely rare.
Dire Ventures, says Vorn, is the one that did not get a new kit.
Yeah, I guess, because technically they were in the wave prior, but yeah.
Let's talk about the Warp Spiders. Warp Spiders. Oh wait,
there are Warp Spiders.
There we go. Warp Spiders are aspect warriors who specialize in short jumps through the warp. They teleport. Their backpack-mounted generators allow them to a very perilous short-range teleport through the warp.
And they come out looking like this guy over here, which is hilarious.
Their armor incorporates additional limbs on the Exarchs to carry their death spinners, which again are these things that fire clouds of monofilament wire. Their whole thing is they embody the Aeldari acceptance of risk and sacrifice, and their totemic imagery mirrors this creature called the Warp Spider that we've. Well, the creature Warp Spider we don't know much about, but we know that it's the totem. It's the totem that the Warp Spiders then follow. Is this creature?
The only thing that we do know about the Warp Spider is that it literally is it's something that lived in the webway. That's it.
Right. Warp Spiders are highly mobile ambush infantry. They blink across the field, they strike at close range, and then they vanish. Hit and run specialists, if you want to think of them that way. Their culture associates with fatalistic bravery. They are, kind of the martyrs, if you will, because they know that one of these days they're going to lose their soul by jumping through the warp. They have a reputation amongst the Aeldari as particularly grim specialists. They got the newest Phoenix Lord. We have a Phoenix Lord for them at long last. It's been years and years and years. They finally got a Phoenix Lord. Lycus, or how would you pronounce it?
Lycus.
Lycus. She has unparalleled mastery of the warp leaps. She's been active across the galaxy. Her existence only recently confirmed by the Imperium and the Aeldari alike. Warp Spiders are
something really quickly, because it is the Warp Spider fighting. Right.
This is the Dawn of War bit where the Warp Spiders teleport. There it is. That's the teleport. Verp. And then he's on top of him.
Now you can see the actual weapon itself. I want to just get the shot itself where you can see that it's all this spider web stuff that's all over him. Get it?
Right, but it's monofilament wire, to be clear. And they do carry power blades on the Exarch. Those are the things on his arms. And those are the Howling Banshees there.
Yep.
And
bring that up real quick.
Next we have the Swooping Hawks.
Yeah.
These guys are they're almost lame. Unfortunately.
They are so close to being the most lame of them.
They're not. They're better than Shining Spears, in my opinion, but not my bunch. So Swooping Hawks, they descend from Beheroth, one of Asherman's original disciples. He decided to take to this. Oh.
No, I'm joking because there's a thing here.
A rare moment of Miss Alexis and Sir Ross agreeing in pronunciation, says Mr. Mike of the Graham. Yes,
and then immediately afterwards. I had to make the joke. That is just a joke. Sorry for interrupting. Please continue.
It's fine. So the Swooping Hawks, they descend from Beheroth, who is one of Asherman's original disciples. He took to the skies. So his whole thing is the Swooping Hawks wear anti-grav flying platforms that look like wings on their backs. They are aerial warfare. They are also hit and run specialists, they fly rather than teleport. They express Khaine as a raptor-like predator, striking from above with speed and precision. They are a bringer of retributive storms in the myth, the culture of the Aeldari. They deploy from high altitude. They bombard the enemy with grenades, and then they harry the enemy's backline. They carry a laser weapon, not unlike a las gun, but it's far more powerful and far more reliable.
The funny thing is, back in the day, it was just a las gun.
Nowadays, it's a better version of that technology. It's an Aeldari version of that technology.
Yep.
They stress mobility in their shrine. They spatial awareness, hit and run tactics. They learn aerial maneuvers and disciplined restraint to avoid overcommitting, because the Aeldari, even the aspect warriors, are generally more fragile than most other species frontliners.
As far as I can tell, their armor is lighter, so it is susceptible to getting cracked by basic weapons.
And the ability for them to drop grenades has been either overpowered, wildly underpowered, sometimes both in the same edition. It depends.
There is also something that two things I want to add to this. Swooping Hawks introduced in early editions the concept of move, shoot, move. They had the ability to drop in, shoot, move, and that was huge for them. Then the Tau got it as well because it was a very popular mechanic, and it made more sense on the Tau battlesuits than it did on the Eldar because the Eldar were broken at the time. And the Swooping Hawk is the only aspect warrior that I cannot find an animation for. He does not appear. Well, they do not appear in any trailers or any episodes on Warhammer Plus.
They're one of the less popular shrines, I believe.
It is kind of weird that GW just released the Corsair box, which essentially comes with these guys, but cooler looking. I felt that was a little weird, but you know, and I feel like Shadow Specters are Swooping Hawks, but cooler.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the Shadow Specters, but first I would like to get into the Shining Spears.
Boy.
The lamest, in my opinion, are the Shining Spears. The closest equivalent for these guys are the Silver Helms from the High Elves in Warhammer Fantasy. They're a jet bike aspect. They link the ancient Aeldari knightly traditions to the path of the warrior. They channel Khaine as a charging knight or a lance, delivering a sudden decisive blow and then racing away. They venerate the ritual of the perfect charge. They are jet bike cavalry. They are armed with lances that hit hardest on the charge, and then they do flanking attacks. They typically go after high-value targets. I've never found them to be a very good choice on the battlefield, but that may be different for some of you. If any of you have used them and found them to be great, please tell me.
Now, I want to add a little bit here, because I did a whole video series a while ago, and I was going over the Eldar vehicles, and we never got through the Eldar section on my channel, unfortunately. But we did actually see like massive weaknesses in the Eldar's vehicle design. And one of it you can see right here. The intake to their engine is at the same level as the lance hitting something, which means that debris is going to go straight into the engine and blow out the engine almost instantaneously. It is, if Warhammer should not be looked at as a hard sci-fi, and I'm going to preface this right now, but one of my favorite things to do is to take fantasy stories and just be like, could this work in reality? And the Eldar vehicles are a hilarious example of no, it can't. Because of the intake to their jet motors is at level where they're getting hit with debris. I just find it really funny. Also, the completely exposed upper half of the guy riding is very similar to that of a horse, but he could very easily just duck under it and go like this and lance. Instead, they go over and lance. It's very silly, especially hitting a ground target.
I'm sure they have potential to be really cool, but for me, I find them lacking. Also, it hurts them that they have no known Phoenix Lord.
Yeah, that's also a very weird one. They're one of like two that don't have a Phoenix Lord, right? Or one of three.
So they don't have a Phoenix Lord. The
Crimson Hunters don't.
Crimson Hunters don't, and until recently, the Warp Spiders didn't, but now they do.
Yeah.
So it's just them and the Crimson Hunters, I think now.
But I do love them. I do think they're really cool. I've always loved Eldar jet bikes. They're very smooth and very round, which is good for a jet bike. It's also hilarious looking if you look at it too long. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this.
Well, they are the only thing I would like to add is that their shrine emphasizes honor and precision and timing. They typically have very strong dueling traditions and knightly codes, which again gives them a lot of. I feel like there is a lot of potential here for something really cool, but it's never really been expressed.
Yeah.
I would love to. If it were me, I'd love to write a book about them to just kind of get that coolness out there. Find a way to dig for it and bring out that coolness. Do we want to talk about the Crimson Hunters next?
You mean the paragraph of lore that we got for them? Where are they? There they are.
Crimson Hunters, the Top Gun pilots for the Aeldari craft worlds. They fly Nightshade Interceptors, a particular kind of aircraft. They specialize in destroying enemy fighters, and achieving air superiority for their craft worlds. Crimson Hunters are an aspect dedicated not to infantry combat. They're the only ones that don't fight on the ground. But aerial warfare, the fighter itself serves as their ritual war gear. The primary task of the Crimson Hunters is to, guess what? Hunt down and annihilate enemy aircraft and other fast-moving targets. Their job is to clear the sky so that the Aeldari ground forces can maneuver unopposed. Nightshade Interceptors are armed with weapons like Bright Lances or Star Cannons. Bright Lances are essentially souped-up las cannons, and Star Cannons are essentially souped-up plasma cannons.
Yeah, that's the easiest way of saying it.
They excel at precision strikes against high-value and flying targets. They rely on speed, agility, and preternatural reflexes. Again, they fly very agilely. And typically the Eldar defense is to not get hit rather than having armor.
Now, are you ready for me to praise a vehicle after just dumping on all of them?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the Crimson Hunter is actually a incredible aircraft. One, all aircrafts can fly if you just put enough thrust behind them, including all of the bricks from the Space Marines and all of the bricks from the Guard. There have been multiple games that have used realistic engines to show you that they can fly giving enough thrust. The cool thing about these is not only are they smart enough to put speed of light weapons on an aircraft, so it doesn't need to try to measure out where the thing is going to be to shoot it. It could just shoot it. This thing is capable of void flight. It can fly in space, and it's capable of going from ground to space, which is huge. This thing can move at 22,000 miles per hour.
Yeah, they're the
short burst.
These are serious jet fighters.
Yeah. There are only 2 other aircrafts that are known to be able to do that, and it's basically the Imperial Guard Valkyrie and the Space Marine Thunderhawk, which is weird because they can go from ground to orbit. Yeah, we ran the numbers for this. This thing is the fastest, though, because it's stated in the lore to be the fastest, and it's the only one smart enough to put las cannons on it and keep them there.
Their shrine embodies Khaine's aspect of the perfect surgical executioner. They emphasize calm, calculating focus and marksmanship rather than blood-fueled rage, which makes them one of the more clinical embodiments of Eldari warfare. Their ace pilots are from the temples, or squadrons of these Nightshade Interceptors that fly around the craft world, patrol it, like combat air patrol kind of stuff. They have strict disciplines of meditation, targeting drills, and ritualized combat practice, but this is all focused on marksmanship and spatial awareness in 3 dimensions. And the aspect shrines that they have are unique, because rather than a hall within the craft world with like all the other shrines, their halls are these clusters of transparent tunnel-linked atriums that float at the craft world's periphery like little chains of orbital platforms, and that's where they train and fly from. Um, their shrines are increasingly becoming more common. Like this is the one that's growing the most, but they do not have a Phoenix Lord that we know of.
Mm-hmm.
So if he may exist, we just don't know, or he or she or they. So that's the Crimson Hunters.
Now, to add to this, the Crimson Hunters are an aspect by themselves, but they're not the only aircraft. There are several other aircraft that the Aeldari use, including the the Vampire Hunter, the Shooting Star, the Shadow Reaper, the Phoenix, the Nightwing Interceptor, the Hemlock Wraith Fighter, the Ghost Lance, the Dawn Sail, and then there's the Crimson Hunter. All of those other ones are crewed by Dire Avengers. This specific one, which is the fastest, is piloted strictly by an aspect of its own. And I think that that's really, really cool.
Fun fact, the Vampire Raider is incredibly powerful as an aircraft. It is on par with the Thunderhawk and can deploy quite a few troops. So the Vampires are like one of my favorites, but the Crimson Hunters are really cool. Now we get to... Okay, go ahead.
Just one more thing I want to add to this. One of the other weird things about this thing is it is an interceptor, but it's not the only interceptor that are used by the Eldar. The other one is used by Dire Avengers. And it's very weird that only one of them is considered its own aspect.
Again, Dire Avengers are the generalists. And these, so you can imagine a Dire Avenger pilot as, he's like a Air National Guard, like, 2 weekends a month, 2 weeks a year. Yeah. Whereas the Crimson Hunters are like, this is my job. I go to work every day, get in the simulator, and fly against simulated pilots every day. That's the difference between them.
Yep.
All right. So the last aspect is also one of the coolest aspects: the Shadow Specters.
So
why don't you talk about? I know they're your favorite, aren't they?
So those things that the Dark Eldar had, those what are they called? Scourges. Imagine scourges if they weren't like wicked and evil, but instead evil and wicked. Then you get the Shadow Specters. They carry advanced, super strong, very deadly, powered laser weapons that are very similar to the prism cannon that is used by the prism tank. I can't remember what the name of the prism tank is right this second. It's the
fire prism, I think.
Fire prism, yeah. My brain went to what's the name of that game? Red Alert for the prism tank. But the Shadow Specters are one of my favorites because they were exclusively a Forge World unit when they first came out. They represent a quick and painful death of a very particular target, preferring to hunt things that are difficult for other aspects to deal with. They tend to hunt light tanks to heavy tanks, but they typically leave the heavy tanks for the fire dragons. They'll take out light transport vehicles and heavy infantry, get their objective, and get out. They jump, shoot, jump. That's what they're there for.
Yeah, the Shadow Specters came from a book called The Doom of Mimera, which was a Forge World book. They have some very specific war gear. These guys are jump pack infantry, essentially. They carry things called prism rifles, which are miniaturized variants of the fire prism's weapon, which fires a very powerful laser beam. Their prism rifles have two modes. They have a dispersed blast for anti-infantry and a focus beam for tougher targets. Their jetpack gives them the ability to deep strike. They can move as mobile skirmishers, reposition after firing, the move shoot move that she was talking about. And they have a hollow field projector that dramatically improves their survivability while moving, creating shimmering after images and granting enhanced cover protection and stealth. The Harlequins use a variant of hollow fields to protect themselves as well.
Do you think that the shadow field thingy works well against orcs?
I think it works well against anybody, except maybe.
Could you imagine, the Imperium would be trying to shoot the hollow field, but the orcs are so dumb that they're just firing in random directions anyway?
Maybe. I don't know. The Shadow Specters, they represent Khaine as the bringer of sudden spectral death. They draw imagery from ghosts, wraith-like hunters that they're not really martial. They're more like spooky and supernatural, superstitious almost. They're kind of trying to be a Scooby-Doo villain a little bit. I'm so scary. But they're cool. It's not like in a lame way. It's in a cool way. They're associated with Mimira, which is very tragic craft world. So they have a funeral kind of cult of memory flavor to their aspect shrines. And their Phoenix Lord is called, how would you pronounce it?
You pronounce it first.
Okay. I pronounce it Irilith.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
And
we did it. We agreed.
Yeah. Irilith is basically a souped up version of this. She flies around on her jetpack. She blasts people with a cooler version of their gun. This is not a stream about the Phoenix Lords, although we would love to do that. So we will probably cover all the Phoenix Lords at some point. But this is the aspect temple that she found at Irilith. The Lamenter craft world.
You're right on the money at this. I will admit, when I first read them, it did sound like somebody wanted to give Dark Reapers a jump pack. And that was it. That was the whole inspiration. So, yeah. So we have 2 super chats really quickly.
I was just about to say that. A Walker 7366 says, "What does each aspect reveal about Khaine, in your opinion?" Great question.
I mean, a lot of them I think focus too much on death and destruction, but I do like the sudden appearance and sudden strikes. And I know this one's lame, I like the honorable warrior. I dig the shining spears for being honorable warriors.
So yeah, it has to do with Khaine being a god of war. Like, he's not just the god of one particular thing of war. He's the god of all. He embodies very, very various different ways of fighting. And I like that the shrines kind of give outlets to different types of emotions. Some Aeldari are naturally brooding. They're naturally very resentful or frustrated. And so they might be drawn to a predatory aspect, like the striking scorpions or like the warp spiders. Others who may be more concerned about their anger issues, they might choose something a lot more disciplined, like the Dire Avengers, where calm, precision, and duty is more emphasized over bloodlust. So the path of the warrior, it stresses that it exploits, but it also protects your personality. It can give you a safe slot for you to fill in with your feelings about war and fighting. Like, if you want to attack from long range, if you're like, I want to sit back and feel safe and just destroy the enemy with heavy fire, Dark Reaper, great, go. If you're like, I want to be in their face and make them fear me, you go for the Howling Banshee. So
I fully agree with this.
Khaine's, it's often talked about that Khaine's presence can influence the Eldar around him. Like, he focuses their warlike emotions. And when the Avatar stirs at the heart of the craft world, everybody feels it. They're all like, oh shit, something's going down. Like, all of the Eldari, they're so psychically sensitive that they can feel the shard of their own war god starting to arise from his slumber, and they know that battle is nigh. So
I wonder when all of the gods were real at one point, what were the Eldar at that point? Because they could feel the aspect of every one of their gods.
We don't know, because the Empire turned away. They were like, gods are old.
Yeah. No, I mean, during the War in Heaven. Could you imagine what they were like?
That's different. Yeah, the War in Heaven era Eldar would be very different. And I would love to see what that looks like. We've talked about it a couple times. Skatari Boy with the biggest aspect warrior squads being at most 10 troops and every squad having an Exarch, does every 1 in 10 aspect warriors get lost on the path? I wouldn't take the tabletop formations as a ratio.
Yeah, because otherwise you have 10 guardsmen gunning down 1 space marine.
It's more of an abstracted. I would say it's a more abstracted view of what is quote unquote real. In the fictional universe of Warhammer 40K, I imagine that it's probably closer to 100 aspect warriors to 1 Exarch. And
I do love that GW has never given us a number for how many Eldar are on a craft world, because if they did, I would run the numbers and discover how many Eldar are in the galaxy. They always just have enough, but they're always dying.
Yeah, and the Exarchs play a special role with the Avatar, which I was just about to get into.
Yeah, but we have one more super chat right after that.
Okie dokie. Biofoot 7874. Hey, I just remembered. Where's our damn pie, Ross? I am not going to bake you a pie, Biofoot. I think you're great, but my baking skills are not. So there you go.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it.
So yeah, Exarchs are a special thing. When the main danger of the Path of the Warriors, you can get lost on it. You can become so fixated that you cannot leave anymore. You cannot join another path. And when this happens, your personality is consumed by the war mask, by the identity of being an aspect warrior. And this turns you into what's called an Exarch. It's a living embodiment of the aspect where your own soul merges with the countless soul stones that are embedded into an Exarch's armor, and you become you are not yourself anymore, but you are also kind of like the first among equals of a collection of souls. The Aeldari culture tends to look very sadly upon Exarchs. They see that as a tragedy that these people are lost to the path and can never not be a soldier. And they're also kind of feared.
Sort of like a Ronin.
They're also feared. Like if you are an Exarch on a craft world and you're like walking around outside your temple and you run across other Eldar who are, doing art or just enjoying, the outside air of a craft world, if you will, then that Exarch will walk by and all the other Eldar will be like, oh shit, that's the Exarch of the Striking Scorpions. He will never join our culture. He will always be apart from it. They're outsiders, if you will, but they will never leave. Exarchs don't go out and follow. There's a whole thing called the Path of the Outcast for people who leave. They are separate from the craft world, but they are still part of it.
And we didn't talk about one Phoenix Lord Exarch that might exist. Eldred.
Well, that's a theory.
Okay, I'm joking.
So the Exarchs do play a very special role when it comes to the Avatar of Khaine. When the Avatar starts to stir and war becomes nigh, they form what's called the Court of the Young King. And these are the most senior Exarchs on the craft world. One of the Exarchs, not necessarily one of the court, but one Exarch will go down to the shrine of Khaine. He is ritually anointed as what's called the Young King. And he enters the chamber with the Avatar. The door shuts, and the Avatar will walk out of that chamber, but the other Exarch will never be seen again. It is assumed that it is believed that Khaine consumes that Exarch completely to awaken the Avatar. And there's theories that the Exarch's personality has some influence over that individual Avatar of Khaine. But it is a sacrifice. It is that Exarch gives up his life to awaken the Avatar of Khaine. It's not typically believed he gives up his soul. Like it's kind of assumed that his soul is safe, but he's definitely dead when that happens.
That it can't be it has to be a painful experience. Oh, this is a good super chat.
The exiled one says, "Do you prefer your avatar of Khaine to have a spear, sword, or axe?"
Okay. As a spear user, a spear. Like I love my spear. It's sitting over in the corner of my room right now, just chilling there. Look at it. Look at it. Look how big it is. I love my spear. But it would be cool to have an avatar with a giant katana. I'm not gonna lie.
So yeah, for me it's the
That's
sword.
cool.
The sword is so cool. I'm down with the sword.
Oh, an avatar with a Danax, though. Actually, if they really wanted to go into the whole Japanese theme of it, they could go with a Kanabo. That could be cool. Or the bigger version of it, just the shield breaker. That could be really cool.
So the young king, he is a stand-in for a hero called Eldinesh. And in Eldar lore, Eldinesh was killed by Khaine, and it's kind of a reenactment of this moment. Each craft world has a different way of selecting who's going to be the young king. Some rotate it amongst the shrines, other have like a ritual combat, and the winner or loser, depending on the craft world, will become the young king. When this happens, the Exarchs will gather in the shrine of Khaine, and they will help the chosen young king remove their Exarch armor because they don't want the armor to be lost. And they return that to the shrine. So it's just the young king naked, and then the Exarchs carve the rune of their aspect into his back. Their blood is collected in a sacred vessel, or some craft worlds allowed to pour freely on the floor. It just depends on the craft world. And then he's given ritual ornaments. Often a cloak and a garland is what is given to him. And then he's given the avatar's weapon, which is called the Suin Dele, or the Wailing Doom, which is a really cool name for a weapon.
It is a really cool name.
And then he takes that weapon into the shrine, into the inner sanctum, where the dormant avatar of Khaine is seated upon a throne. The doors close, everybody prays and chants, and then
Ooga chaka, ooga chaka, avatar.
And then Khaine occupies the statue, kills the young king, transforms it to the living. It transforms from the idol into the living avatar. Some sources say that the young king's soul stone is embedded into the avatar, and their memories and skills empower it. But that fate is, in more recent lore, that fate is a little less. It's more ambiguous. It's like we're not sure.
I mean, there is that one book where Gene Stealer Patriarch becomes the avatar of Khaine.
I really don't like that.
I know, but I showed you it, and you were just like, "I hate this. I hate all of this."
But it's all tied to the Eldar myths and legends of their heroes, Eldinesh and Ulthanesh, which we talked about during the War in Heaven, because they're part of that story. Anyway, so the becoming an Exarch is seen kind of as a breakdown. It's seen as an obsession because and dangerous because it is an obsession. This is where it could be beneficial to Slaanesh. So the Exarch is like, that's the furthest a craft world is willing to tolerate obsession. That's like the edge of the envelope. Don't go any further than this. Yeah. So what do you do when you're off duty as an aspect warrior? Well, you live fairly normal lives. You can socialize, you can rest, you can train intensely, which they do. They have some really cool books written by Gaff Thorpe about what training is like within an aspect shrine.
Yeah, I will agree with that. His path books are really good.
So they're kind of like monks or students. They have their day job where they learn to master the samurai. No, it's fair. I mean, it's fair. It's fair comparison. The shrine and its rituals and its iconography, these all become very central to the aspect warrior's identity. And they may be able to think and move and react instinctively in ways that are shaped by that aspect. I imagine many Eldar probably go out and get tattoos of their shrines symbols on their bodies. You know, kind of like people that get obsessed with a band or obsessed with their job.
What?
Right? Like I almost got a 40K tattoo on my arm when I was creating Wrath of Glory because, you know, it was such a big part of my identity.
I
Yeah,
plan to get more tattoos just because I want more tattoos.
so the aspect warriors, they do a form of psychic compartmentalization with the war mask. When you are an aspect warrior, you learn how to sort of partition off a part of yourself to
It
make
kind
a.
of reminds me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it kind of reminds me of that scene in Spider-Man. This is so random, but where Green Goblin's talking to the mask, where the
Yeah,
mask is the warrior and he is
yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's very similar to that, and I just wanted to bring that up because that's a good visualization of like what is it? It's a id, ego, and superego is how they deal with themselves.
So you could have a guy who's gentle, artistic, thoughtful. I was trying to say contemplative. Turn like you're hosting with Porky Pig today. I'm sorry.
You know what the best part is? This is how I feel whenever I try to say words and my accent just beats the hell out of me.
So you could have an Eldar who's very gentle and artistic and thoughtful in his normal life, but when he puts on the war mask, he could be utterly ruthless because his warrior self is partitioned off. And the training of the aspect shrines, they push this further. They make that partitioned self distinct, very focused on the rituals and traditions and beliefs and art of war that shrine represents. So when you're putting on that war mask, you are aligned with the archetype of your aspect.
What is it called? It's dissociative identity disorder.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a forced version of that. So I really like that with the Eldar. Like a Banshee takes off their mask, they're actually like really polite, really nice. They're a dancer or something like that. They're an entertainer, or you know, they're like an actual mother. Because it takes a while for Eldar to have kids, but they can have kids. It just takes them like 50 to 100 years. Um, if they can. That lore is very vague, but anyway, it's very cool to think of like this like completely 180 personality, like just throw on mask, murder everything in path.
You could look at it like an aspect warrior could be kind of like a nun or a priest. This is something that they do for a while and it's important to them, but it's not everything about who they are. Whereas a mother superior or a cardinal, that's their life. That's who they are, right? Yeah. They're not a person who is temporarily a priest. They are that priest. Imagine meeting your mom when she's a banshee, says Mr. Mike at the Cradle. Oh, that's good. That's good. I like that.
Now, I do want to bring up one thing. When it comes to like the soul stones and everything that they use on their aspect warriors, it does transfer their training over to the next one. Because it is part of that soul that's being transferred in, and it acts as like a guide to how to use your armor and things of that nature. It's a very fascinating process for the Eldar to bond souls with each other.
Speaking of bonding souls, I was going to talk about Exarchs a bit more.
Oh, heck yeah, let's go.
So an Eldari who's become permanently fused with their war persona and their shrine, they lose the ability to ever step off the path of the warrior. This is the mother superior or the cardinal, if you will. So they can no longer change paths, and that means that they never really take their war mask off. Their mind is permanently in a heightened battle-oriented state. It is aggression, vigilance, readiness to kill. These are things that are on the surface almost all the time for an Exarch. So Exarchs tend not to socialize in their downtime. They tend to just train or meditate or mentor other aspect warriors. It depends on the shrine. Like some Exarchs could be constantly bloodlusty, bloodthirsty. Some might be just constantly more like a Crimson Hunter might be more like studious. He's always reading the technical manuals. He's always in the simulator trying to pull off trick shots. They're cold. Exarchs are typically very coldly purposeful. They're generally not berserkers. This makes them distant and hard to relate to. So other Aeldari see them as people who can no longer live a normal life. The Exarch armor contains multiple spirit stones of all the people who've worn it before, and each time an Exarch dies, their soul joins those that are already bound into the suit. So a new warrior, when he puts on that armor, he becomes the first among those equals of those souls. And over time, good.
From what I remember in Gavthorpe's book, when they actually do it was the Howl of the Banshee. Or the Path of the Banshee. I can't remember the exact name of the book. I think it was Path of the Banshee.
Path of the Warrior?
Maybe. But it was the one where they talked about the Banshees specifically. But when the Exarch actually put on their armor for the first time, they were no longer themselves. They were a part of a whole community that is one being.
A gestalt.
Yeah. Which I absolutely love. Again, I think it's so cool to you're basically in the avatar state. You're talking to all the past avatars, just being like, hey, you're the cool one. You're the lame one.
Yeah, it's like Black Panther in the Ancestral Plane is also another good example of this. So your body is animated and guided by layers of memories and instincts from all these previous Exarchs. It gives them an immense skill and experience, but it blurs your individual identity. When you talk about I, myself, and me, you're also partially speaking about all the other wearers of the armor who wore it before you. So Exarchs, they are a collective soul, and they serve as both a spiritual leader, like they are essentially priests of Khaine full-time.
We are Ermac.
But they're also drill masters. They're also living exemplars of the shrine's archetype. So they are the most stereotypical member of their shrine is an Exarch.
But they're so important because of their skill.
They're very skilled. Exarchs are, a typical Exarch is more skilled than a typical Space Marine veteran sergeant, for example.
I would actually put an Exarch on par with a captain. Easily a captain.
They're I would say maybe a little less hard to kill, but pretty close. It's skill. It's in sheer skill. Yeah, very, very close.
Yeah, there's a Tides episode where we get to see an Exarch of the Striking Scorpions fight a Ultramarine captain, and the Ultramarine captain just gets fucking bodied.
I used to really enjoy. So Striking Scorpion Exarchs are one of the few Eldar that can carry a power fist, and that makes them very dangerous. Fun note, way back in the day, some of the earliest Harlequin models had power fists.
Yep. Also, back in the day, Eldar had Land Raiders.
Las pistols.
Yep.
So how does a warrior become an Exarch, Alexis?
They lose themselves. They just keep going. They literally follow Eminem to the word and just lose themselves to the music the moment they heard it. They ain't never gonna let it go. Had one shot and they took it.
There doesn't seem to be a fixed trigger. Some Eldar can fight one battle and be like, this is it, this is my life. Others may do several campaigns. It could be decades or even centuries on the path, and then they're like, oh, you know what? This is it for me. Relying on the War Mask can become addictive. It can be like a drug. It can be like a thing that you realize you can just no longer put away yourself.
Yeah.
That the War Mask is just always with you. The Green Goblin, right?
Yep.
And obviously trauma can be part of this. If you have a lot of death or a lot of your comrades die, if you're around a lot of death is what I meant to say. Some people can sense this. Some of the Eldar are like, oh shit, I'm starting to go that route, and that's when they will switch paths. And some will just stay on the path, and like any addiction, it'll just grow and grow and grow. to the point they can't stop it anymore.
So Ross, here's the question. You're in the 40K universe. You are a space elf. Congrats, you did it.
Yay!
What path are you down?
Well, I'm not an aspect warrior.
You are an aspect warrior. In this case, you are trained and you grew up your whole life. What path are you going down?
If I'm going to be an aspect warrior, I'm going to be probably a striking scorpion or a specter, because the shadow specter.
Now, do you think you would become an Exarch because you would lose yourself to it?
I hope not. I sincerely hope not. I feel like that because becoming an Exarch is kind of like a holy doom. If aspect warriors are paladins, then Exarchs are the martyrs who have sacrificed their whole personality on the altar of war.
Yeah.
So I would prefer to avoid that.
If I was there, I'd probably start as a Dire Avenger, and then I'd probably just go, yo, those guys with swords over there using magic powers? Hell yeah, let's go. And I'd go down the path of the Warlock.
Whoa, Ricky Chapman coming in with the steel chair. Jazar and Beharoth attacked us at the same time in our campaign.
So you all died.
Ricky Chapman likes to give us tales of his RPG campaign. The kicking we got was horrific. A player character had to finally accept the pact with Khorne to save the others. The sounds of hounds filled the air as Karnak, I think is what he means, came. Wow. That is one way to get out of it, I guess. Wow. Woo! Summon Karnak.
Do to piss off two of them.
That's pretty wild. His stories of his RPG game are always really interesting. So thank you for your support, sir.
Know if Karnak's lore about his brass collar being the brass collar of Khorne, the strongest brass collar in the galaxy, is still canon, because it's never mentioned again. But that's a whole nother topic. We're not on that topic right now. All I know is if you kick that puppy, all of Khorne is mad.
Let's briefly touch on the difference between autarchs and exarchs.
Spelling.
These are separate paths in the current lore. Originally, autarchs were exarchs that ascended to being a general, but the current lore is instead that there is a path of command and a path of the warrior, and those are separate things. So an autarch walks the path of command, which requires having completed several paths, including at least one round of the path of the warrior, if not more than one. So autarchs, if you see their models, they combine multiple aspect shrines into one. Like they might have the mask of a striking scorpion and the wings of a swooping hawk and a fire pike from a fire dragon, for example.
Yep.
But that doesn't, they are not exarchs. They are instead people that have served in all three of those temples and are their chosen path is that of to be a commander, to be a general. So back in, there was a book called Epic Swordwind, which was for I think early 2000s version of Epic.
They're gonna focus camera. There we go.
And in that book, the word autarch was first used for an exarch who took overall command of the military during all that war. Kind of a first among equals, but that's older lore. Later codexes say that autarchs are path of command specialists. They have not become trapped on any of their paths of the warrior, but they've learned to combine different aspects of war into one. So, can exarchs become autarchs? Maybe, probably not. No, but also yes.
The way I would justify the older lore into current lore is at the time that specific one took over and called himself that, so that people would listen, so that the Eldar would listen to him. But that was a one-time thing versus what it normally is. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that exarchs acting as an autarch is like a crisis moment. It's like a acting general. You know,
We're going to war. Guess I'm a dictator.
there's also early lore about something called a Menshad Quorum, which is warriors who are obsessed with the path of the warrior, but cycle through multiple aspects rather than staying with one. And this may explain why some sources treat them
Flip-flop.
the same.
Yeah.
Asserman is also a complication because Asserman, the Phoenix Lord, he is described as both the first Exarch and as a supreme war leader whose behavior resembles an Exarch who is also an Autarch, but the text does not explicitly call him out as an Autarch, even though he is the commander of the Phoenix Lords. It gets a little weird with Asserman.
Could you imagine being the head of logistics, the Exarch of logistics of the Eldar, and trying to ask him that?
Right?
No, I need an answer. No.
There is some lore that suggests more recently that Autarchs may start becoming lost on the path of command.
Ooh,
which
I like that.
Which suggests that you could have a mirror of an Exarch, but instead of a single aspect of war, he's focused on all war all the time. This is that guy who plays a hell of a lot of Civ or a hell of a lot of Total War, and is like, yes, this is my life now.
Well, that's going to be my whole personality now.
Right. So that's the difference between Autarchs and Exarchs. There's some really interesting, obscure, and minor aspect temples that don't have models. Do you want to talk about those?
I do not know. If it's not in a Gav Thorpe book, I will admit I know very little about it.
So these are ones that are mentioned in older codexes, Forge World books, White Dwarf material. They're canonically real. They just don't have any rules. They don't have any Phoenix Lords. They don't have any models.
Oh, we talking about like the Eagle Bomber guys?
Well, first of all, there's the recent White Dwarf 511, which is pretty recent, 511, pretty recent White Dwarf. Talks about aspect shrine statues representing more esoteric cults on the craft worlds.
All right.
And the first one is called Anak Eth, which is the mother of spiders. And it's described as a daughter of Moriheg who weaves a web of fate, represented by a shrine statue. This is treated as an aspect tied to spider and fate imagery, which is distinct but adjacent to warp spiders.
I just want a giant Eldar spider. Is that too much to ask?
I mean, that would be cool, right?
Yeah, let's see these creatures. Because, the closest word in Gothic is spider, and that's what the translation is to us. They don't call themselves, warp spiders and things like that. They have their own Eldari name for it. But I want to see these creatures because apparently they only have 6 limbs instead of 8.
So here's 2 more that are super fun.
Okay.
The Slicing Orbs of Xandros. Love this name.
Somebody is just making 80s D&D references.
Well, this is a horror movie reference to Phantasm, I believe.
Oh, that's even better.
So the Slicing Orbs, they're first mentioned in the 2nd edition Codex Imperialis.
It's always great when it comes from 2nd edition. Second edition has some of the funniest lore.
This predates the first Eldar Codex, I should point out.
Yep.
And it is one example of an aspect confined to a single shrine on a single craft world. But the exact quote says that they are the weirdly terrifying Slicing Orbs of Xandros. They're referenced again in the 6th and 9th edition Eldar Codexes, which makes them one of the most repeatedly cited no-model aspects. Okay. Each time they appear, it's usually just like a name drop. So we don't know much about them at all, but it implies we know that the craft world of Xandros was destroyed. And it's later in canon. This is the battlefield where Karandras and Ara fought their climactic duel before Ara went to Cormorant.
Oh, Ara.
Jesus Christ. So it's speculated by fans that the orbs are some sort of autonomous or semi-autonomous weapon, possibly monofilament based.
Okay.
And I like to think that they have the little balls from Phantasm that they throw at people with a little blade that pops out and it just flies after you and tries to cut you apart. The other one that we know of is called the Crystal Dragons. The Crystal Dragons. They're from 3rd edition Codex Eldar.
Yep.
They're referenced in the Gavthorpe. So Gavthorpe wrote the 3rd edition Codex. He also wrote Path of the Warrior, and they're also referenced in that book. And they're said to be on Craftworld Alatok, but we don't know much about them. The name itself suggests some sort of crystal weaponry or maybe prism weaponry.
Yeah, they might specialize in prism weapons.
And they might be related to fire dragons in that they focus on destruction.
Okay.
They might also have close combat weapons. We're not sure. The 9th edition Codex confirms that fire dragons draw on the mythology of Aeldari dragon beings that are called serpentine, fire-breathing creatures symbolizing unrestrained devastation. So,
man, if only there was a type of Eldar that rode animals into battle that GW could make models of.
You mean the Exodites?
Dang, if only those existed.
So the Slicing Orbs of Xandros and the Crystal Dragons are 2 named aspect temples that have very little lore and no models, no Phoenix Lords. Just thought I'd include them for... Oh, Mr. Mike the Grail. They fought over what? Talking about, I think he's talking about Ara and Karandris.
Yep.
Yeah, well, they fought over, Ara wanting to, be a fallen Phoenix Lord.
Ara. Anyway, I'm gonna stop now.
Do you have thoughts on Karandris?
That's the
Striky Scorpion Exarch.
I mean, they're really cool, but yeah, there's not much there. They didn't die though, right? Well, so die is in quotes when it comes to Eldar.
Phoenix Lords specifically are nearly immortal. Like they can die and their armor can be like reform elsewhere, and a new person will wear it and become that Phoenix Lord.
Yeah, so long as they have the Spirit Stones.
Right, and the Phoenix Lords have this weird way of like the Phoenix Lords are like little avatars in that when you become a Phoenix Lord, you lose your personality. You technically die because your personality is gone when you put on the armor of a Phoenix Lord, but they are essentially nigh immortal. So Karandris was once Ara's student, and Ara was the original Phoenix Lord of the Striking Scorpions, but Karandris was focused more on the shadowy patient hunter thing. And he confronted Ara after it was known that Ara was corrupted, no longer wanting to be one of the Phoenix Lords and wanting to experience more Dark Eldar, Drukhari.
Hey, I want to hang out with the Corsairs. Is that cool?
Right.
No. He
left. It is said that Ara corrupted the path of the Striking Scorpion, the path of the warrior.
And Ara, is Ara alive?
Well, that's what we think. We think Drashar, Master of Blades, is Ara.
That's Drashar.
That's what we think.
Yeah, and then one of the other Phoenix Lords is the one that's with Yvraine right now, right?
No. Well, maybe. I don't know. Is there a Phoenix Lord hanging out with her? I don't know.
It's the dude. I can't remember his name right now, but he's said to have been one of the guys that trained somebody that is a Phoenix Lord.
Oh, you're talking about the Vizarch.
Yeah.
The Vizarch. Yeah, well, that we will talk about Yvraine and the Vizarch and stuff when we talk about the Ynnari.
Yeah.
But he's not, as far as I'm aware, he is not a Phoenix Lord or associated with the Phoenix Lords. But the duel between Ara and Karandris is said to have lasted for 17 days. They fought in the ruins of Xandros, which was a destroyed craft world. It's said that this is a tragic reversal because Ara was a charismatic father figure who rescued and trained outcasts like Karandris, but then he fell into darkness, so his most loyal student had to rise up and confront him about this. It's a philosophical split in the Striking Scorpion tradition because Karandris was embracing that more cold, patient predator striking from the shadows, where Ara was a far more brutal, aggressive warrior. We don't know much more about it than that. That's kind of what we know.
Do you think the 17 days was measured in the 24-hour clock or their own?
Remember that mythic battles in Warhammer and 40K tend to be, exaggerated. Like we talked about the War of Vengeance over on Warhammer Fantasy, and there's battles that are said to have taken place over days and days of just a duel.
As an actual sword fighter, like if a fight goes 30 seconds,
that's a lot.
I'm not joking. Both fighters are exhausted. They are actually backing up from one another and taking breaths because we can't keep fighting. Things get too heavy. The only time fights take longer than that is when we're in line fighting, and then we can actually stand our ground and hit with spears and things like that, and it's not as bad. But 1v1 fighting, 30 seconds? That's a lot.
So here's some of the more interesting and more popular fan theories about Aspect Warriors. One of the first ones is that we believe Drazhar, the Master of Blades, is Ara, who was defeated and broken by Karandras. This is the single most popular theory about Aspect Warriors. And it says that Drazhar is not a separate individual, but instead what remains of Ara after Karandras shattered most of his spirit stones during their prolonged duel. 8th edition Codex, Eldar Codex, says that Karandras was the only one who walked away with his soul intact from that battle, which implies that Ara's spiritual structure was severely damaged. In this theory, Ara's memories and his corruption by chaos were obliterated by the loss of those soul gems, leaving only this amnesiac with a really strong and aggressive killer instinct. And so he became Drazhar, which is the Master Blades. And the absence of Spirit Stone gems on Drazhar's model is cited as physical evidence, but that's definitely a stretch, I think. Yeah. It's never been confirmed or denied by Games Workshop.
God damn it, Biofoot.
I like to believe, though. I like to believe that this is true. I think I sign on to this fan theory.
I think everyone in the community has accepted this as the truth. Like, that's one of those things where GW could deny it if they wanted, but we would just be like, nah.
Biofoot says, direct quote, Alexis, 30 seconds is a lot.
In a fight.
Oh, that's going to be, you know what? I love it when people are taking our words out of context.
I love it too. I think it's funny.
You guys are hilarious. Another theory. So Karandras is like kind of absent. Like he hasn't had he's not received a new model in a long time. Did he get a new model recently?
Oh, let me check on that really quickly because I don't follow the Drukhari. I usually just listen to Skari get mad about them. Skari is a good friend of mine. I love watching his stuff. I just think it's really funny because Eldar are kind of one of those armies where they upgrade, like they update 4 models at a time, and they're just like, yeah, it's good.
So the popular fan theory is that he's absent intentionally to hide himself because the prophecy about the Ranadandra requires all the Phoenix Lords to assemble.
Games Workshop did get a new model. Sorry for interrupting.
Karandras.
Oh no, Karandras. No.
So Games Workshop has actually leaned into this. They've joked about it. They had a blog post where they were like, "Yeah, he's too stealthy to photograph, so we didn't. His new model's invisible." So that's a fan theory, is that Karandras is intentionally absent. He's kind of hiding from prophecy.
That makes sense.
The other idea,
it's hard to read him when you can't find his soul.
The other theory is that Fuegan is already preparing the Ranadandra. He's already starting to call the Phoenix Lords to war. Recent lore mentions that Fuegan is hunting demons in the webway between battles. And the fan theories are that this is Fuegan already being in motion, that every battle he fights in the webway is preparation. His appearances in the current timeline are not random, but they are deliberate steps in assembling the conditions for the Ranadandra to begin.
I mean, I could definitely see that. He doesn't like, as far as I'm aware, Fugan is one of the few Phoenix Lords that doesn't like. Well, actually, I think a lot of them don't like Eldred.
I
Yeah, I don't
mean,
think a lot of them like Eldred,
I
but I
would
know
be
that he doesn't work with them.
I'd be interested to learn more about Eldrad's relationship with the Phoenix Lords. I'll have to look into that. But some versions of the theory about Fuegan link it to Iniad, speculating that Fuegan's soul is merging with the others so that the final battle can fully birth Iniad into reality.
I love this theory. I love it.
Why?
Because it's Fugan killing everything, including himself. Let's go. He's going to burn it all down, including himself.
Maybe. I like it. I also like that theory a lot. Here's an interesting idea that all the Exarchs in the same shrine share the same mind. Because the Exarch armor contains the souls of all the previous bearers, and new Exarchs are mentally kind of overwritten to a degree by the dominant Gestalt. One theory is that all the Exarchs of a shrine effectively share one distributed consciousness. So that means there's no individual Exarchs. There's only the Shrine of the Striking Scorpion.
There is only
the Shrine of the Howling Banshee. So in whoever's body is currently wearing that armor, it's even more of the Avatar state that you described.
Yeah.
I don't know about this.
I kind of disagree with this one.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'd have to ask Thorpe about that one directly.
One of the other theories is that Ara still exists separately from Drashar and is currently training Chaos-aligned Eldar. That's very old. Like, I remember people talking about this back in the 90s.
So that goes down to the whole Crone World Eldar being a half-demon hybrid with Eldar. And that is such ancient lore that I don't buy it anymore.
Well, it would be... There is something interesting about the idea of a fallen Phoenix Lord. There is something interesting about the idea of the Ranadandra involving Chaos, Crone World Eldar led by Ara. But yeah, it seems like a stretch because Eldar just don't seem to fall to chaos. It's not, they either die or they're Dark Eldar. Like that's basically it.
The ones that do fall to chaos usually just get consumed.
They get eaten, yeah.
Yeah, like that's the whole
straight
thing.
Up get eaten.
Because like we do have two Tau characters that fell and got corrupted and possessed by chaos. They're really cool stories. I like those. But I, in all of my reading, have never read a Keeper of Secrets or anything possessing an Eldar to the point where it didn't just devour them afterwards. We do have a super chat from Rick Chapman.
A friend wants us to tell you that while fighting Jane Czar, our character tried to flirt with her. It wasn't a no, but she kicked us, breaking 8 ribs.
Okay, look. If you stood back up, she might go on a date with you. Also, Ross, I have a very serious question about you. About the craft worlds and everything. Do you think that they have fast food?
Yes.
Right?
They almost certainly have street food.
They have to.
Right?
Because like in Voidsguard, they talk about eating other species' food and liking it.
I've got to read that book.
Obviously, yes, you do. It's very good. So obviously, they have to have something to compare it to. So I just wanted to get you. Oh my God! Could you imagine like you become an Exarch and your taste changes?
Right, you would. Your palate might shift.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, the official lore describes the war mask of an Aeldari aspect warrior as a psychological discipline, but a common fan theory is that it's also a genuine psychic construct, a literal secondary soul fragment imprinted on the aspect armor that you can slip back on to the wearer involuntarily if they are careless with the armor or careless with their discipline. This explains Exarch formation as not an addiction to violence, but the armor's imprint gradually bonding with your soul over time until separation is impossible.
So I like this because it's very similar to how the Phantom Titans operate. Granted, they need two pilot. No, Phantom Titans don't need two pilots. It's only the Wraith Knights that need two pilots.
Well, there's certain Titans that do require two pilots.
But anyway,
specifically, the Wraith Knight has one living and one dead pilot.
Yes, but the Phantom Titans need to bond over time to their pilot. So it's probably just a much bigger version of that. So I could definitely see like them putting the mask on and over time it bonding with them.
So we talked about Craft World Bealton being the most warlike. And one of the theories is that the Bealton aspect warriors, even after formally stepping onto other paths, remain psychologically marked by the War Mask far more than other Craft World Eldar. This results in higher rates of Exarchs, more aggressive civilian personalities, essentially a craft world that runs on barely suppressed warrior instinct. The book Valador by Guy Haley, I just read, has characters from Ayendan craft world visiting Bealton, and they talk about how militarized Bealton feels to them as opposed to Ayendan.
You know what it was? They didn't have a McDonald's.
Anyway, I thought that was a lot of fun. So if Ara is Drossar Master Blades, did he found the Incubi, which is a very specific tradition, very specific version of Dark Eldar warriors? That is a very common theory as well.
I would need to know when the Incubi were founded so I could try to place the dates. But we don't know. Oh, excuse me. We don't know exactly when Drukhari became Drukhari versus Drukhari just existing because the Eldar were falling and then just calling themselves Drukhari after the fall. Because they might have had like the full organization of Drukhari but without calling it Drukhari. It might have just been Eldar at that point. Does that make sense?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Ricardo Andre says they are all embodying aspects of Caleb and Khaine, that obsessive, murder-happy, violence-craving god. It would be weird if those who embody that god for too long don't come out weird. Good point. Not going to lie, good point. And Ricky Chapman, once again, we remember the Eldar aspect warriors eating at an all-you-can-eat buffet because they burned through so many calories fighting. Oh, good point.
That actually is a thing you do when you fight for a couple of days. You are starving.
Military MREs are very high on calories because of this specifically.
Oh God, they're terrible though.
Well, I ate some and I didn't think they were terrible, but it depends on the flavor, I guess, the packet you get.
Fair enough.
One other idea is that aspect warriors forget things when they basically the idea is that the mask is not psychological armor. It is a way to compartmentalize the trauma and memories of combat. So any detailed memories you did while you were in your war aspect are sealed away.
Okay. So that kind of reminds me of there's an Assassinorum book. I can't remember which one it is. But a Calidus assassin is talking to the psychopath. Which one's the psychopath?
Eversor.
Yeah, the Eversor. The Eversor is actually like super nice and polite outside of his mask. And then he puts it on and all the drugs kick in and he's just a murdering psychopath that kills everything. It just reminded me of that. So I could see that being a very real thing.
Well, it's important to remember because Eldari have such strong emotions and things like that, that the path is meant to be disciplined. So how can you serve as a single-minded warrior for so many years and then go back to being an artist or a poet with no memory of the people you slaughtered, right? Like that is, I think, the power of the War Mask, the power of this, the partitioning of your personality.
Fair.
maybe.
We do have a comment here that I think you should check out.
Oh, it's not a theory anymore. The Incubi plastic kit. Oh, is this for the new? Is this like a kill
The new
team?
plastic kit, yeah.
Okay. It includes a small statue of Ara. It's undeniable. The helmet has a scorpion tail. Yeah, Games Workshop really likes to tease people about this. They've never confirmed it.
And again, two different aspects could use the same iconography and be different. But yeah, it is very, 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 very hinted that it is them.
There's a theory that the striking scorpion mask causes its wearers to take pleasure in killing, like serial killers, because the striking scorpion is explicitly described as channeling the joy of the hunt and the kill, not just tolerating it, celebrating it. So
fun.
this mask makes the Scorpion Temple uniquely dangerous. The original shrine under Ara was described as using hatred and fury as a weapon, and Karandras, of course, refocused it around more stealthy ambush style stuff. To maybe Ara pushed that envelope a little too far, and they were all like, "That's excess. That's going to draw he who thirsts," So, Exarchs of this shrine, of the Striking Scorpion shrine, are said to be the most feared by the Roguecraft worlds because their civilian personalities
are just
they're gone. You're just a hunter. You're essentially a serial killer, desperately waiting for your next chance to kill.
Yeah, that's a bit messed up.
Yikes! Right?
Oh, here's a good comment.
Micah says, still, it's cool. Also, question, if you could make a novel series about a Phoenix Lord, which one would you choose?
Crimson Hunter. It'd be an Aeronautica book.
I would like to write a book. I know we just got done talking about Karandras and Ara a lot, but that is such a fascinating story to me that I would want to write a book about Karandras.
Fair.
If I wasn't going to do Karandras, I would probably pick Jane Sar.
Oh, you know what? I love that. I actually really love that. Jinzar is good though. If I were to write a book on the strictly on the Phoenix Lord of the Crimson Hunters, I'd pit them against a unit that is not really seen in literature, like it's seen in the video games. I would have it hunting down Chaos Space Marine flyers. So Hell Drakes, Hell Talons, like creatures that are flying. Like I would have it being like blasting through them and just weaving through all of these Dreadclaw drop pods as they try to come down, and it can like predict its path, so it just turns sideways between two drop pods. There'd be like really cool like scenes in there, and yeah, I would definitely do that. And their whole thing would be hunting like a very particular warp smith that's making more Helldrakes, or creating this scenario where Helldrakes create themselves, because Helldrakes are very weird and they kind of create themselves.
So there is some lore that suggests that aspect warriors do not have to be Asuryani at all. That some of them could even be humans.
So okay, this is actually a thing. Well, obviously, but I like the idea that Ethereal Stern has a lot of respect from the Eldar for some reason. I think they view her as somebody who has walked a path. She might be down the path of the seer.
Or something like that, yeah.
Focus, camera. Focus up. You can do this. Stop trying to focus on the thing in the background. Focus on me. Come here.
At least one instance in the novels has a human character briefly interact with a aspect warrior war mask via psychic resonance. Ooh. So it suggests that it's possible. Canonically, Harlequins sometimes pass through the aspect warriors before they learn their true calling. Yeah. And it's said that Corsairs also maintain ties to the aspect shrines.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. I find that curious.
I also love that the Drukhari have a horrific treatment for turning elves into human lookalikes. And they go through this whole like graphic detail of, and it amounts to putting a beanie on their head to hide their ears. Because like the way it's described is they have this special helmet that covers up the top of their ears and the top of their head, and it has this black rim around it, and it's specifically designed to like block certain blah 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 and everything. And it is just a beanie. They're putting a beanie on an elf and just being like, "Go walk with the humans. Put on human clothes."
Ricardo says, I love that bit. It builds on the gods of the elves being just gods, like a lot of things in fantasy. What's the source of that? What specifically are you asking about the source of?
I think he's asking for the source for the human Eldar interface.
Oh, I'd have to look that up. Talk about Aspect Warriors while I go find that at.
Well, I could talk about Aspect Warriors. I really like Aspect Warriors.
Okay.
So let's go and talk about how some of their weapons originally started out as just Imperial weapons. And I love this because in early Warhammer 40k, Eldar didn't really have their own identity. They were just trading merchants. That's all they were. They were just untrusted trading merchants. They were just jerks. And originally they were just called the Eldar, and a lot of their gear was just the power sword, the power fist, the shuriken catapult, which was not uniquely Eldar, mind you. That was anyone can take it. They had they had access to needle pistols. They had access to las and auto pistols. They had access to bolt weapons. But it was in the Rogue Traders / second edition era where they didn't really have their own full identity. Second edition gave them their own identity where they gained the different unit types, but they didn't really go too deep into the Aspect Warriors themselves. In third edition, they really started going down that line and hardballing the lore itself to make them less of kind of a jokey faction, and they lost their Land Raiders in third edition, unfortunately. They also lost their las guns, their power fists, their power swords, and they got the equivalent of Aeldari technology. But unfortunately, Eldar do suffer with the fact that all of their weapons are just, here's the Imperial version of it, but it's better because it's Eldar. Like the blast weapons of the Swooping Hawks are just las guns. The Shuriken Catapult is still just a Shuriken Catapult. The Mandi Blasters are just needle pistols with a different name, and now they do something different. I do like the evolution of them becoming their own unique thing. And Eldar in 40k do feel uniquely 40k because instead of just going with Western elf ideology where they're, the same as in fantasy, they made them more akin to Eastern cultures. So one of my buddies pointed out that these swooping hawks might be a reference to the flying hussars, or the constant marks of Japanese culture on them. The banners that they have that have a whole bunch of Japanese symbols on them and some Chinese. Yeah. And even their helmets are very symbolic of like Japanese oni masks. So I really like the idea that they leaned more into different cultures when it came to the Aeldari. There's a question here. So are the Aeldari chainswords actually good? Like, we know that the Imperial chainswords have a ton of problems. It depends. It depends on the class of that Eldar and how good that weapon is actually made for them. It is still as good as like a standard chainsword, but it is swung by a weaker creature. But they are on par with humans, so they're not as strong as Space Marines wielding it. They're probably not even as strong as a Sister of Battle wielding it, because the Sister of Battle can wield an Eviscerator, which is way stronger. But it is still a very fast weapon for them, though it does kind of clash with their whole style of warfare because it's a tearing weapon versus a slashing weapon. But yeah, it kind of works for the striking scorpions, I guess.
Yeah, I can speak to that. It's primarily used by striking scorpions and black melee focused guardians.
Yeah.
As it's Eldari versions of the chainswords are extremely reliable and they don't run on Promethium. That's a couple things I can say. To answer Ricardo Andre, bro, unfortunately, I did not write down the name of the book, but I'm pretty sure it was. I think it was Path of the Warrior. So check that out. See if that's the case. My bad. I didn't write down the name.
Ricardo Andre says Eldari are definitely stronger than baseline humans. There is no baseline human in 40K. All humans in 40K are vastly different. You can get an average for them. And Eldari warriors and humans are typically at strength 30 or strength 3. They are identical. They are weaker than orcs, stronger than grots. That's about it. If you're talking in terms of who's going to win an arm wrestling competition, weirdly enough, probably the human. And that's because we have the ability to push our bodies far beyond what an Eldar can do, because we will literally rip apart our muscles and everything to do something. And it's a very primitive way of using your muscles, where the Eldari will go, I will lose this and not try because I can't risk damaging myself. So it's a matter of how much risk versus reward when it comes to strength. But then you have things like the Catachans, which are on par in strength to a Space Marine in the tabletop game. So it's strength is weird.
Striking Scorpions used to have strength 4, which was the same as a Space Marine. I don't know if that's still true.
Yeah, but that was also the same strength at the time as Catachans.
Right. Well, yeah. Suffice to say, it gets a little weird.
I would say that they are definitely stronger than most humans. I would say they are stronger than Voidborn, because Voidborn are incredibly weak. I would say that they're stronger than Highborn, like top of spire Highborns. But once you start getting to like the lower levels of the Hive, no. A baseline human is crazy strong. But yeah.
There's a theory, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
No, let's read out this comment. Alexis, the Guard is not baseline humans. It is the Special Forces for the most part.
It's not.
Well,
Guard are not Special Forces.
Okay,
Scions are Special Forces.
I think what he's talking about is that if you are tied to the Guard, you are trained to a higher standard than a planetary defense force, or a militia. Generally, yeah. Again, it does depend, but generally speaking, I think he's trying to say that they're trained to a higher standard than militias and PDF planetary defense force units.
But that's also the same with Guardians.
Well, yeah, Guardians. Again, yeah,
they're on the same level.
All right. I would like to. There is another theory I wanted to mention because it plays into our episode about the word heaven, and it's a theory that the craft world Aeldari, of course, were created by, well, Eldar in general were created by the old ones, and that the aspect warriors might be surviving combat templates from the old ones' Biowar projects. So shrines are not just religious cults, but cultural interfaces for ancient psychogenetic code within the Eldari. This is tinfoil hat for 40K, but I kind of love it.
Yeah, it is.
It's one of those theories that I read. I'm like, I want an unreliable narrator to write a bunch about this, and then somebody say, no, that guy's crazy. That's totally not true. There is a thought that the Striking Scorpions or the Dark Reapers might be proto Ynnari in the fact that they're sort of death cultists, and that they may be drawing closer to the aspects of killing and death because they're drifting towards the birth of Idiot, the god of the dead. And I find that really interesting.
I actually do like that quite a bit.
So
I do wish they would give us more on the damn Ynnari, but they kind of just gave up on it.
It feels like they did, yeah. I imagine sales were not great, which is probably the reason.
Yeah, it turns out when you do three models for an entire range, it's not going to sell well.
So here's a question for you. If you were going to create a new aspect shrine, what would you build?
Probably an artillery regiment. Like one that specializes in artillery. Like that would be its whole thing. It's just because you have the heavy weapon platforms, which are artillery. You have the artillery tank, which name I can't remember right now.
Death Spinner,
And
I think.
yeah,
Or
and then
something.
you have
I don't recall.
yeah, and then I would have like a new model made for them that is just an artillery cannon that's like a prism, I don't know, thingy. But yeah, that's what I would do. What about you?
So, Firestorm, I think, is what you're thinking.
Yes.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. Well, I think I would do something. I don't know. There's room for an assassin temple.
I could see that.
There's room for like a breacher, like like shield and shotgun type.
Oh, that could be cool.
Yeah, there's room for a couple of different aspects of war that we haven't seen.
Night Spinner.
Night Spinner, thank you. That's what it's called. All right. So those are I could see like a shrine of assassins or duelists would be really cool. Something where maybe it's more like a cult of executioners, although that is very Drukhari.
Yeah.
Or knife fighters or some kind of ritual duelists. So that would give them a slot that's different than Howling Banshees and Striky Scorpions, but not. It's still very Striky Scorpion. It still feels that way, like it's related to it. I like the heavy support siege one that you came up with, but I think also the breacher guys would be a lot of fun. The shielded shotgun, the close combat urban warfare guy. I'm trying. I don't know a better way to say
it. Okay. Hear me out. They are they're void breachers. They're the ones that teleport onto ships.
Well, if you include the teleport aspect, that makes them the daredevils or you could go the dwarf slayer. We're already dead.
Yeah.
Kind of guys. The Morituri aspect, right? We were about to die. So they could be the fatalistic again. They could be like a really dour, well, we're risking our lives to teleport on board the enemy ship. We might as well bring a shield and a shotgun and let's see what we can get done. That could be kind of fun. Although it needs some workshopping. That's a basic idea of something that we don't have in the aspect temples. What about you, chat? Is there any ideas of what you would do?
So to answer Ricardo Andre, what aspect of Khaine would that play along with? The assassin? For me, it would just play into the overwhelming destruction of your enemy.
Dueling, right, is an aspect of war. Cutting the head off the snake. I mean, assassination is absolutely a war tactic. So,
or sabotage in your case.
Sabotage.
Yes.
If anybody remembers that, that's from the 90s. But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Like, that's where I go. What about Chad? Do you guys have any ideas about what you do for a aspect, the bonsai pilot aspect, like a kamikaze?
I mean, that is
I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that because
suicide is
that they don't like that.
Not typically, no.
Can you cover for a second? I will.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So today we've gone over a lot of the different aspects, warriors. We've talked about their temples. We've talked a little bit about the Phoenix Lords. If you guys have, here's one from Professor Shapp, a bodyguard unit, aspect of Khaine as a protector. That's also where you could get the shields and shotguns too, right? Like you could have a Victrix guard type bodyguard unit. That would be interesting. At one time, there was a formation called Court of the Young King, where the Avatar had Exarchs as bodyguards, which was a really nasty close combat unit. Bodyguards would be cool, and you can see it if the Autarchs are becoming more. Maybe this is something like when you have the Autarchs that are becoming lost to their path. That this could be a thing that they do. There's a shrine that then is called forth for that reason. It's interesting. I like that idea. Let's see here. I remember in one Eldar book before the fall, they had an Eldar literally surfing in space. The Void Surfers would sound cool.
I am here now.
Yeah.
We did it again at the same time. There we go.
We're floating around. Here's one. Honestly, the assassin, Ricardo Andre says, I'd love Khaine assassins. Yeah, Khaine assassins are, of course, everything in fantasy.
Yep.
Spec ops murdering chapter masters and captains, though to reach that point, you risk death along the way. Duels to the death is a risk of the shrine. Yeah, that's a good one. And
I just love the idea of just bombing an enemy's ships, like propulsion, and then just leaving them to drift and die in space.
Nestor Umber says maybe an aspect temple focused on traditional non-technological weapons. Like knives and
like a certain type of elf that rides a dinosaur.
Yeah, that'd be kind of wild.
Come on, give us dinosaur riding elves. Yes, that is correct. I was almost going to say elves riding. Wait, that's the same thing.
You missed
riding elves.
Missed,
my brain just messed up. Continue.
You missed the suggestion of the Void Surfers.
Okay.
I don't know about that one. Do we have models to look at this week?
Yes, we do.
Why don't we
look
if you guys
over at them.
Any more questions about Aspect Warriors or Phoenix Lords, please put them in the chat. But we are going to look at some of the models that you guys sent to us on our Discord, which I will again say is a good place to go if you want to engage more with us. Hey, by the way, if you're enjoying this deep dive into grimdark lore, do us a favor, hit like and subscribe so that you can spread the heresy of Lorebeards 40K to other people.
You can get more Keepers of Secrets coming to you, especially if you start talking about Eldar. They seem to love them. So, first up, we got... Whoa, that is so zoomed in. Let me zoom out real quick. There we go. We got a couple of Blood Angel characters.
Yeah, we do.
Done by Hitman 1213. And we have Mephiston standing next to a sanguinary guard with a sanguinary... God, what is this guy called? He has a blood chalice. He's the apothecary equivalent with a jump pack.
Sanguinary priest.
Yep, thank you. 2 jump pack intercessors in the back, one with Eviscerator, and then a jump pack captain, it looks like, with a relic greatsword.
Interesting.
I like the conversions.
The color scheme. Go ahead.
I like the drinking from the cup. Like, obviously, these are work in progress.
Yeah, these are definitely not finished. I would argue, but there is some really interesting color scheme stuff going on here, especially with Mephiston having a blue skirt. That's something you don't see very often, and a green sword. I think you've got a good start here, but I definitely need to see more before I can really comment beyond. It's a good start.
Yeah, but what we can say is we really like the conversions. I like this jump pack captain. I think that looks amazing. And the sanguinary priest looks really good too. Can sanguinary priest take jump packs again?
I don't know. It depends on the edition.
Yeah, that's one of those things where it's probably a Legends model at this point. Next up, we have this cool... Oh my god, this is... It's the character. It's the... I can never remember this thing's name, but this is done by Vile.
Is it the Death Leaper?
No, this is it's one of the newer models. Let me just double check really quickly. I have it. I just have to look it up real fast. Tyranids. We'll just click anything. Again, this is
Death Leaper.
No, it's not a Death Leaper. As
Red
much as I keep
Red
thinking it
Terror?
is. Nope, Red Terror is gone. This is. I don't want to look at chat because I know chat. Neurolictor.
Ah, Neurolictor. Wow, that. Yeah, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, it is a mix between a Ravner and a Lictor. Yeah, this is a really cool color scheme. I like the highlights and everything. The base work is probably being worked on still. It looks like they got a nice highlight on it already.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that is not finished, but it is a really good start, and I do like the color scheme on the base. If it is finished, I would say one thing you can help with is to put a color on the rim, that outer rim of the base, like a black or a brown, would be handy. But that's it. I mean, this looks really good.
I really like this. I think this looks great.
The colors are stunning. Yeah. Look at the way he's got the colors blending into one another.
Also, the base looks a lot better from this angle.
Agreed.
Yeah, you can actually see it and everything. This is from Raffi. This is one of their newest works. This originally a Knight Arcanum, which I converted into. Oh, it's a Navigator. That's what they're running it as.
Wild.
All right, I could dig that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting looking Navigator. I like the mask a lot,
especially with the hole for the eye.
Yeah. The third eye there on the top. The shoulder pad is a little distracting. That is, I think, the one thing I might try to change. But other than that,
what they could do to fill this little gap here is take a bit of green stuff, fill it, and make it into fur.
Like a fur cloak or fur cape would really add a lot.
Yeah.
But it's
amazing.
Really good conversion. I love good conversions. Super Urlock has a super chat where he says, "Money." I think he is also a fan of this. Check out that skull and wings on the top there. That's really neat.
Yeah, I really like this. It's very, very, very well done. Let's see. I think we have another picture of it. I really like this fur.
Look at that base.
Yeah. That is crisp. That is really beautiful. I think that is incredible.
Yeah, big fan. I like it.
And then we have him leaning back, doing the rockaway. God, I'm old. And then they're in face down defense position.
I love it. Looks good. Yeah,
Ross, I set my Navigator in face down defense position and end my turn.
Nice. I'm a fan. That looks good. Oh,
incredible. This is done by Mr. Crusade Era Rogue Trader Militant.
Nice.
A Juve nobility with ties to the Mechanicum.
Interesting. I like it.
Let's get zoomed in on that. I like the eyes are done too. Plasma pistol is nice and crisp. Look at that. You can see the glow inside the gun.
Nicely done.
Red dot laser sight, because that's what you need on a plasma pistol.
This is an example of hitting exactly the target you aimed at. If you wanted a Crusade era feel, you nailed it. Well done.
Yeah, this is incredible. It looks very Rogue Trader-esque too. That's what I love about it. Like the plethora of bright colors, everything.
The collar.
Big poofy collar, gotta have that.
Yeah, the bones on the loincloth are really nice. Yeah, it's very well done. Good job. Good job.
And then look at this. The eye work is incredible. Oh, that is good. Oh, and it has the helmet right here. It's a beaky helmet.
I am jealous.
Yeah, this is incredible. This person would not be able to turn their head if they put that helmet on. Which is fitting for a Rogue Trader era model.
Look at the hololith in her hand.
Yeah.
Damn.
Hey, they brought the pie, Ross. Why didn't you bring a pie?
Again, 3.14 or I am not a good baker. Take your pick.
This is really good. I like the green marking on the leg. squad distinguishing. This is just really good.
That's
Unfortunately, this is the end of our showcase for this week.
well, that Rogue Trader. Go ahead.
If you guys want to submit models, all you have to do is comment in our Discord. Our Discord is the best way to show us like cool stuff and actually interact directly with us. And yeah, you see polls and everything there. You get to vote on different shows, and you get to call Ross out for not making us pie.
We do have a poll up on, I think, YouTube for our Wednesday show. It's what tier list are we going to do for that week? So please go votes, and yeah, we appreciate all you guys' support. If we have 10 minutes left, so if you want to ask us questions about basically anything, although Aspect Warriors would be appreciated, you go right ahead. We've been covering a lot of Aeldari lately because the community likes it. We cover the War in Heaven, we cover the Aeldari Corsairs, and now we've covered the Aspect Warriors. Clearly, a lot of Aeldari fans out there. I feel like we need to look at some other cultures, factions, units, but we have a long list. We have a long list, and we keep adding ideas.
We got to do this properly. If it's 40K, we cannot do 2 episodes in a row without including Space Marines. We have to constantly include Space Marines.
Ricardo points out that Khaine doesn't seem like that much of a protector. Eldrazor, the gladiator of the gods, whose arena are the entirety of the mortal world of fantasy, seems more like a protector. Yeah, well, Eldrazor isn't in 40K as far as I'm aware, but Khaine, Khaine has been humbled. Khaine has been humbled in 40K, and I could actually see him being more like, you know what, let's have some bodyguards. Let's maybe go a little bit more defensive, because going all out aggression has not gone well for him in the Grim Darkness of the Far Future. So
no.
I'm just saying, I feel like it's possible.
Oh, sorry, Kova. Kova's sleeping on my lap, and I scared him. One thing that has bugged me quite a bit is Khaine only has one canonical fight outside of his own pantheon, and that was against the Avatar.
Huh?
Sorry, not against the Avatar, against the Catan. And that's it.
Ricky Chapman says we just put some pics in the Discord there. Super chat for you.
What? Holy cow. Yeah, you did. But you know what? I'm going to add those to next week because I'm awesome like this because we already moved on. But it'll help for next week. But yeah, it is very weird that there are no aspect shrines to any of the other gods that are still technically alive. I guess you could say that the Harlequins count as an aspect shrine to Kigoroth in a way.
Aspect shrines are so tied to Khaine that I wouldn't.
Yeah, they kind of are.
I don't know if I'd go there. I don't know if I'd go there. But yeah. Question. We do have a question from Godzilla Rex. Are there any Eldar on ocean planets? Not that I'm aware of, although the Webway has lots of different little cities and ports and pocket places where you could have. I mean, it could exist. Certainly, and there are maiden worlds settled by the Exodites that could be ocean worlds. I don't think we've ever seen any, but it's a cool idea for the surfers. Yeah. I think is what he's talking about there.
Yeah.
I don't see y'all do my Beastmen. Yeah, we haven't done a whole show on Beastmen. There's not enough lore for that.
There really isn't. Like, I guess we could talk about like the Zangors and the Slangors and the other type of gores, but the regular Beastmen, there's a paragraph from Rogue Trader, and then there's a paragraph from now. They didn't do anything.
There's a question here for Professor Shapp. He says, not Aspect Warrior related, but Aeldari related. I've been wondering about the role of Kurnus among the Eldar remnants, like we know the Kurnite Hunters and the Corsairs.
I think that's kind of it, though, isn't it?
I don't know of anything other than that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Supposedly, so according to Eldar myth, Kurnus and Isha are the parents of the Eldari pantheon. He was
sticking your claws into my leg.
He's associated with the wild, predatory, instinctive side of Eldari life: the chase, the kill, surviving in nature. I don't know. He was, according to the War in Heaven, he was captured and tortured by Khaine and then ransomed through Val's bargain of 100 swords, 100
That
blades.
is very weird for a war god to be like 100 swords, or you don't get this back. It's not very cash money of you, Avatar.
I don't know.
Sorry, of Khaine.
Hawk says he posted a Beastman model in the Discord. Oh, okay.
Oh, you did. I'm going to reply to this and just say, yep. And that means that I'm going to add it to next week.
All right, so next week we will have Ricky Chapman and
yep.
We will have a Hawks stuff in there. Thank you for reminding us about this, guys. Appreciate you. Michael says, I think that since Isha is still alive, there should be a shrine for her somewhere, maybe of healers. I'm pretty sure there are shrines to all of the gods on the craft worlds. The craft worlds are the most pious. They are the most closest to the gods of all the
Eldari,
different, at least as far as we know, because again, Exarchs might be even more of that. I don't know. But according to what we know now, it's the craft worlds. And I would imagine there are shrines to Isha and shrines to Morai Hag and shrines to Kurnus on all the craft worlds. Like, that makes a lot of sense to me.
I still wonder, like, could you imagine the shrines of Iniad? And just, your brain is just like, They're just like, go away, your brain.
Well, I would imagine those are the newest ones. And I imagine that's what Ivrain's trying to accomplish, is to spread awareness and worship of Iniad amongst. Yeah, I mean, I would see shrines to Seg'Garak and Iniad in the webway for the Harlequins. I'm pretty sure there are hidden shrines to all of the gods on Cormorag somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere, somehow.
There has to be. Like, you can't have an Undercity without that. Like, what's the most devious thing you could do in an Undercity? Be an Eldar.
Micah points out that the Isha is not a dead god, that she's alive, and a path of healers would be interesting to see. There's almost certainly a path of healers. Absolutely.
Has there been any other, like, because, like, the last thing that I heard about Isha, like, actually being written about, is that maybe Leman Russ is trying to rescue her.
That would be, I think that's more headcanon, I think, or fan theory, but
yeah, because the two stories are just related, and it just so happens that it would make sense that he would save her. Although it also makes sense that he would kill her because, elf god.
So going back to the Path of Healers thing, the Eldari do have very high medical technology. It is rare to see Eldari with bionics because they can regrow a lot of stuff. Prince Iriel is infamous because he has a bionic eye, or a cybernetic eye, however you want to say it. But yeah, there's definitely a path of healers on every craft world, and there's certainly related to the homunculi and their flesh shaping of the Cormorites. So the Drukhari have healers, quote unquote.
I mean, you wanted gills, right?
Corsairs definitely have healers on board their ships.
Yep,
they would need it.
Aren't bone singers also technically healers?
They heal the wraith bone.
Yeah,
they heal the ship.
Yeah, they can heal the ship and the wraith guard.
Yeah, exactly.
And technically the titans and everything. Damn, they're useful.
Ricardo says the tree of life is what Layman is hunting for. Isha is a logical endpoint. Also, Eldari gods might just be gods, and the Eldar are their greatest worshippers. They might, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they might just be old ones. That case, again, Leman Russ might kill them because he might just go, there is only one god.
We speculated a lot about the Eldari gods during the War in Heaven episode because they might be old ones. They might be psychic constructs created by the Eldari. They might be just gods, quote unquote, whatever that means. We don't know. The nature of divinity in 40K is a little unclear, but I love the idea that they're psychic constructs because that's where we see the greater good god coming from, as he was a psychic construct of the Tau's allied races. And you could argue that the Emperor has become this over time thanks to the ecclesiarchy. So I like that idea, but obviously you and I have different thoughts on the nature of divinity sometimes, and that's fine. It's okay for us to have. We can still be friends.
There's also the whole like material god, immaterial god, Eldar gods, and then Gorkamork. Where the hell are Gorkamork from? because we have no idea what created Gork Mork, aside from the orcs, maybe. But according to Gork Mork, written from Gork Mork's perspective, they created themselves.
Professor Shapp references a meme that Lehman Russ comes back with Isha and says, "Ah, Gilliman, my brother, I see you two also have an Eldar waifu."
And then Jagatai Khan comes back with 2 of them on his bike. Hi, brothers! Ah, I see we're getting along with the Eldar.
Ricardo points out, I'd love to see some far-flung Imperial world worshipping the Eldar gods under the idea that it's aspects of the Emperor. That is certainly possible.
So it's not directly stated, but there are Sister of Battle books where the sisters purge the planets because they're worshipping Xenos gods. It's not said to be Eldar, but they are worshipping Xenos gods.
Well, you can imagine, so many maiden worlds, which were worlds terraformed by the Aeldari, have been settled by the Imperium.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to imagine that there were shrines or statues of the Aeldari gods, which again are very humanoid.
Yeah.
It would be
put a beanie on them and they're humans.
It would be easy for a frontier Imperial world to start investing ruins or statues of Eldari civilization with the idea that they are aspects of the Emperor. And it would be perfectly in line to have a super heretical cult that believes they're worshiping the Emperor, but are actually worshiping Eldari gods. That's fully 40K. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have this week.
Yeah. So everyone say goodbye to Kovu.
Bye, Kovu.
He's the cutest boy in the entire world. He's a little mad at me because I just picked him up.
We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on Lorebeards 40,000. We have another episode coming out on Wednesday, which will be our tier list. Please go vote. Don't forget to join the Discord if you want to be a part of our community. And, of course, like and subscribe to spread our heresy, because that will be the good way to grow our channel and our heretical influence.
And remember, in the grim darkness of the far future,
there is only lore. Cheers, everybody.